Happy Tuesday, degenerates. What is going on, gamblers? Welcome back to the Die Hard MMA podcast on a very special Tuesday edition of the show this week. I apologize first and foremost. I know there's many of you out there who didn't have the show to keep you warm. You didn't have your audio download to keep you going at work in the office today. I will make it up to you, I swear. Thank you all for being with me here on a Tuesday night. It finally happened. I'm not sick, but I had something I just simply was not able to move, and we had to jump off of our legendary Monday time slot. We will be right back at that next week, Monday, same time, same place, as always, right here on the Die Hard MMA podcast. But hey, I see some familiar faces in the chat. Thanks to being on a different night, some more of you are able to make it in here. What is going on, Marav's Disciple? We got my guy Dream in the house. Johnny Odinez, thank you very much. Ethan Hershey, Clint, motherfucking McLean. That's what's up. I like it. My guy C. Dell, that's a name we haven't seen in a while. Good to see you back. DFS by the numbers. Sam in here with the oi. We know the guest coming up this week. Louis Mack Jr. Remora. What's going on? Steven Jackson. Dixon Sider. Glenn Bott playing for real. Dr. Elijah True. Dan the Man 32. A gross infection. And I'm already running out of air. There's so many of you. Thank you all very much for being here to support the show. It's pay-per-view fight week, baby. It's pay-per-view. And I don't know if anybody noticed, but we're rocking the gold money chain tonight. We got the baby blues on. We're coming off of a legendary 2-win week. That's right. Back-to-back events. PFL on Thursday and UFC on Saturday, and we hit dubs on both of them. Back-to-back underdogs in the PFL for a nice fat 5-unit profit on a Thursday night. And then we came home with anchor number 8. We are now 7-1 on anchor parlays. Corey Sandhagen gets it done in dramatic fashion. I told you guys that this was not going to be a competitive fight and that the minus 500 price tag was pure value. He brings it home. The only skid on the weekend is we could have had just a legendary score if Miesha Tate had turned up the wrestling just like one round sooner. She came out boxing for God knows what reason. I thought she was going to go to the grappling right away. She damn near got the finish in round 3, but too little, too late. We still got the profit, 2.1 units on UFC this last weekend. So I will take it. A 7-unit weekend is always a good weekend. We are not quite worthy of the money gun. It's hiding. It's right down there. I can smell it. It's getting close. But you got to hit something big and nasty to break out the money gun. I got a feeling that might be this week. Real quickly, let's run back over last week's action. We had Sandhagen versus Figgy on my favorite card here. Juliana Killer Miller to start the card. What'd I tell you guys? Everybody was mocking me. Everyone's giving me shit, getting all over me. She looked minus 300 in that fight. No, it wasn't quite that dominant, but she looked a lot better than everybody gave her credit for. And that was, I'm telling you guys, Ivana Petrovic is a bum. So I know Juliana's not great, but the physical advantages, we didn't quite get the sub. She tried, but 2-1 dog to start the night. Oh, baby. Oh, I will take it. Thomas Peterson. We talked about Dontel Mays looking like a bag of milk, rolling off the couch, zero interest in this fight. I am shocked he survived to the final bell. I feel so bad for anybody who played Thomas Peterson inside the distance. I had him in the anti-violence parlay to go by decision. I could not believe that fight went a full 15 minutes. I am absolutely flabbergasted because Don'Tale Mayes was done and checked out multiple times there, and somehow Thomas still couldn't get it done. But just insane how dominant and one-sided that fight was. I think Don'Tale Mayes is close to hanging him up, you guys. I really am. We might get one more shot to fade this guy, but it's wraps for his career. Dog of the week, our boy Link is barking from heaven. Quang Lee gets it done, even more impressive than I envisioned. I thought he was going to hang on. I thought he was going to use the wrestling, maybe a late ground and pound finish, but his grappling really showed out by submission. I know a lot of people that hit that line. I was not one of the ones that hit that line. I doubted my girl Jillian Robertson, and apparently I need to stop. I need to stop. She's my girl. She's always been my girl. We rock with her. I thought Marina was going to be able to cause her some problems on the feet, and Jillian made her look like an amateur. Now, I will just, for all intents and purposes, Marina did hang up the gloves. It was the end of her career. So maybe not the best version of her. I don't want to take anything away from Jillian. It just, whenever your heart and your head are involved, it's hard to distinguish. And I always get scared. I'm too hyped up on my own person because I'm a fan of them. Bekov came out and did the damn thing in round one. That was impressive. We already talked about Misha Tate. Jeremy Stephens and Mason Jones. I just want to talk about this for 1 second. Mason Jones showed the IQ problems that we talked about when he left the UFC the first time. Congrats, kid. Came back to the UFC, got the win, right? But he was going life and death with Jeremy Stephens, the number one most losingest fighter in UFC history. Mason Jones was going life and death with. Jeremy Stephens, a blown up 145er who is now fighting in BKFC. Mason Jones was going life and death with. I will fade the shit out of this kid. I'm telling you right now, we'll see how they match him moving forward, but my eyes are open. I will be watching because I think he's the same guy that left the UFC with the same problems and makes the same dumbass decisions, and that eventually is going to get him caught with something big. I also, just real quick, guys, sidebar, I have to laugh. I posted something to that effect on Twitter, and immediately someone hits me with well, if Jeremy Stephens is so shot, why don't you get in the cage with him, Clint? It's like, the fuck? Let me be clear. Let me make this absolutely right here. Get in close. An absolutely shot women's 145-pound UFC level fighter would whoop my fat ass. Okay, I am not trying to say that I can get in there with Jeremy. Everyone gets so obnoxious on Twitter. It's like, I don't think you should kick puppies. I really don't think you should kick puppies. And the fuck you out here drowning cats for, bitch? It makes no sense how people go off the deep end online like that. I'm saying the guy who retired from MMA and hasn't been in the UFC in 4 years is looking a little washed. Why don't you fight him then? Get out of here. I cannot believe these people exist. I swear. They're bots, and people just have to have the tolerance cranked all the way up to 100%. There's normal, there's aggressive, and then there's Elon fanboy. And I just swear they just crank them all the way up as far as they can possibly go. Cameron Smotherman, Series City. You know what? I couldn't pick that fight, you guys. I was bouncing back and forth on that one. I didn't have a good read on anybody on that fight. And I know that's rough because, I'm the bantamweight guy, right? But Cam Smotherman seems like somebody who's got all the check boxes that you could possibly want, but he doesn't quite have it all together yet. And I said as much after the fight was over. He's 27 years old. He showed a lot of good things in that fight, but he's 27 years old. Durability, cardio, it all kind of checks out. He's got the striking you need, good submission defense. He's just not quite there yet. So I think Cameron Smotherman, if he develops in the next year or so as somebody who might have a decent run here in the UFC, it just kind of depends on these next couple of fights for him. I started the week on Series City, didn't want to touch it, ended the week thinking maybe Smotherman was the side. Thank God I stayed off of it. When you zigzag like that, you just want to leave your money out of it. Montel Jackson got it done, but my God, you guys, that was terrifying. I did not think Daniel Marcos was going to be able to come out here and D1 Montel Jackson, okay? We knew the wrestling was a problem, but I didn't think that the wrestling skill set of Marcos was going to be enough to take advantage of it. Apparently, now back to Buddy thinking I should fight Jeremy Stevens. Apparently, I can double leg Montel Jackson. He's that bad of a defensive grappler. Something we need to log away for next time. Fast hands, big power, that's all fine and dandy. But if you get a well-rounded enough striker that can mix in a trip takedown or a double leg here or there, Montel Jackson is hosed. Santiago Ponzinibbio got iced in round 3. You know, I actually thought he was starting to take over the fight. I thought it was 1-1 going into the 3rd round. Apparently, it was 2-0 on all the judges' scorecards. So we never had even a hope of cashing that ticket. Do you ever feel a little better after that? Like, I thought I had a shot at it, and I feel like I got robbed by D-Rod knocking him out in the 3rd round. Turns out I was completely fucked anyway. So it was like, oh, all right. Like, I kind of don't care now then. Like, I wasn't going to win it anyway. And the year of defeated fighters continues. I keep telling you guys, there is something in the air. 2025 is different, bro. If you're an undefeated fighter, we are betting against you. Period, point blank, bar none, okay? I talked about how I thought the line with Bo Nickel was way too wide, but he was going to grease it out. He was going to hit an ankle pick or something. He was going to find just enough of a way to get on top that the judges will rob Reiner de Ritter and give a decision to Bo Nickel. That's how I saw that fight playing out. He got smoked. He got beaten up on the feet. He got schooled in the ground. He was making such bad decisions. He tried to jump guillotine on Reiner freaking de Ritter. Like, what was that man thinking on fight night? So Bo Nickel fraud check, boom, like done and over with. I can't wait to see Reiner de Ritter. I want to watch the Sean Strickland fight, you guys. Please, 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 please book that fight. And we already talked about Corey Sandhagen. And with that, you guys, that's the recap of last week. And I'm going to bring in one of my favorites, one of your favorites, everybody's favorite uncle. Uncle Weezy joins the show tonight. What's going on, Weezy? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm fired up for this card. You know, 12 fights. We just got a late replacement here for Kyle Prepolek and Benoit Saint-Denis, and there's some really compelling fights on this card to break down. I've already got a few bets going into this week. I'm most of the way done with my research, ready to break down these fights, Clint. So let's find some ways to stack cash tickets like flapjacks on this card.
That is what's up, Weezy. I can't wait. I can't wait. This is a great card. And you guys know, sometimes I come in here and I'm like, I don't have a single bet on the board yet. I got to talk to my guest. I need to marinate on some of this. I came out firing, Weezy. I can smell my luck turning in 2025. We're starting to put a win streak together. I'm seeing the board clear as day. I'm dodging bullets. I'm putting my money where my mouth is in the right spots. And UFC 315 looks soft to me. I am attacking this week. I've got bets locked in and ready to go. And I'm so excited you're on the show tonight to hang out with me and break it all down. You guys, we've already got over 200 of you live. I shouted everybody out when we had like 60, 65 of you in here. There's another 150 people rolling in right now, and I see all of you. Thank you very much for being here on a Tuesday night. Hit the like button, share the show. Let's get into this damn thing, Weezy. First fight of the night. We've got Brad Katona, and he takes on Bekzat, Almakhan. And ladies and gentlemen, it's fitting that we leave off last week's podcast with a massive winner with Corey Sandhagen as our anchor. And we start right where we left off in the bantamweight division. And I am your bantamweight king, ladies and gentlemen. This is my territory. This is where I belong. And I couldn't be happier about this fight, Weezy, because I have been waiting. I've been waiting with bated breath for Bekzat to get his ass back in the cage. This man came in on short notice and fought the strongest fighter in this weight class, future champion Umar Nurmagomedov. Ladies and gentlemen, your debut does not get harder than that in the UFC. And what people did wrong after that fight is they discounted Umar based on Bekzat landing a huge, powerful shot and dropping him very early in the fight. They gave Umar no credit for surviving, for recovering and coming back to dominate that fight after having his brain rattled right out the gate. So you guys got that one backwards, okay? Umar deserved all the credit for that. And now the exact opposite is happening. People are talking about how Bekzat got dominated the entire fight, how he wasn't able to capitalize on the moment where he was almost able to finish Umar. Well, folks, let me tell you something. A lesser human would have gone down in that moment. A lesser human would have been completely disconnected from their soul. Umar is built different. Bekzat is an absolute monster, and I am so excited that he is here in the UFC, and I'm ready for him to assault this division. 11-2. He's just 27 years old. He has 9 wins by knockout, and my favorite thing about this man's striking prowess is that he has 2 knockouts in the first round. He has 4 knockouts in the second round, and he has 3 knockouts in the third round. This man is not a round 1 or bust type of fighter. This is not a human that you need to hold your breath if he gets extended beyond the 5-minute mark. He takes his time. If he can do you dirty and get you out of there in 2 minutes, oh, he absolutely will. But he has no problem making sure he's got every edge and advantage and dragging you into the second or the third round and then head kicking you to Hades. His kicking game is fantastic. He spent some time in this camp going out to places like Tiger Muay Thai to strengthen up his grappling, his well-roundedness. We know they're a striking gym, they're a Muay Thai gym, but they've got a very underrated grappling system out there as well that's helped fighters like Loma Lukbunmi go from being just a Thai fighter to being a well-rounded MMA fighter. So he's been gone for a year. He's 27 years old, and on his best night, he's capable of knocking out the best fighter in this weight class in the first round, Wheezy. He's a minus 185 favorite right now to Brad Katona. I don't want to be disrespectful to Brad Katona. Brad Katona is C minus GSP. He's not even B minus. He's C minus. We got to go a level below. He's extremely well-rounded, okay? This is a Canadian fighter, a guy who's the 2-time tough winner, but he's not a guy anybody's really excited about. He's a decisionator. He does everything very well. He does everything very right, but he's hittable. And that's the biggest key to this, Wheezy. At minus 185, I parlayed up Bekzat. He's going to knock out Brad Katona in the second round, ladies and gentlemen. Your bantamweight king has spoken. Wheezy, what do you make of this fight?
Yeah, I already finished writing up this fight. I went through everything that there is to go through, the trends, the strength of schedule, the striking, the control time striking in the clinch and in the on the ground, the grappling. And I put it all together here. I've got a little summary of the fight that I'll read. This is an interesting prospect versus veteran fight in the bantamweight division to start off the card. Brad Katona is an 18-fight veteran who knows how to win minutes, bank rounds, and edge out close decisions. He's well-rounded, well-tested, and he has top-notch fight IQ and knows when to use what weapons. Brad's durability can always be counted on, as can his in-fight decision-making. Bekzat Almakhan is a 27-year-old prospect from Kazakhstan with a very impressive 11-2 pro record. He made his UFC debut on short notice against an elite fighter in Umar Nurmagomedov, and he held his own and even dropped Umar with a big shot in the first round. Bekzat is low volume, but he has big power in his strikes and a 9-win and 0-loss career record to the KO. He has solid offensive and defensive grappling that he either uses in reverse to keep fights standing so he can land big strikes on the feet, but he can also mix in some offensive wrestling to win minutes. How Bekzat fits into this division is a bit of an unknown because he fought a decent level of regional scene competition in Kazakhstan, but then he made his UFC debut against an opponent that was way out of his league. Brad Katona is a much more sensible test for Bekzat, and I'm interested to see how he handles it. It's always good to back Brad Katona as an underdog because he fights close with everyone. He's notoriously difficult to finish. He has a great chin and the ability to dictate where fights take place and the fight IQ to know when to take the fight where. He stays busy with his offense in all areas of the fight, and he's always in top condition. Brad is a good test for any young fighter, especially the ones who are finishers, so you can find out how they perform when they need to win minutes. I think Bekzat is going to be live to land big shots while this fight is on the feet, but Brad should be the busier fighter with better footwork and better lateral movement. I also rate Katona as the guy more likely to win minutes in the clinch with his dirty boxing and on the mat with his takedowns, top control, and ground and pound. Bekzat only has one career win by decision, while Brad has 10. And since Brad is so difficult to finish, I think this fight is going to play out a lot closer than the line indicates it will. Brad does not really put stamps on fights, but he's been in there against much more experienced and tested fighters and fought close with pretty much all of them, including Merab Dvalishvili. Bekzat is a really promising prospect who appears to be well-rounded and dangerous. He's only 27 years old. He had the toughest possible debut you could have, and he gave a good account of himself, and now he's getting a much more winnable fight, but it's against a more experienced, tested, and well-rounded opponent who can find your weaknesses, exploit them, and push a pace. I'm going to pick Brad Katona to win this fight by decision, but like all Brad Katona fights, I think it's going to be very close. Bekzat has a lot of moment-winning upside at distance striking range, and I think his anti-grappling is good enough to limit the amount of success Katona will have with his wrestling, but I trust Katona to do more, make the right decisions, lean on his experience and guile to get his hand raised at home in Canada. I promise I won't do that for every fight, Clint. It's just I had it already written up. I figured I'd just give you the full summary of what I looked into on this fight. I think it's going to be very close. I think Bekzat's got all the moment winning upside here. I think he's got 95% of the finishing upside because of the power that he has in his strikes, all of his strikes, his hands, his kicks. But this is a good test for him because he went from mid-range regional scene competition to fighting literally the most complete fighter in the entire division. And now you're taking 12 steps down the ladder again, but it's still steps up from where he was fighting in Kazakhstan. So he's got a lot to prove here. He's got a lot to prove. And if he doesn't, and because Katona is so durable, I think he's going to need to prove that he can win minutes. I'm not sure if he can do that yet. So that's why I'm going the other way.
Fair enough, Wheezy. Fair enough. And the breakdown was fantastic. Do you ever read kids' books at the local library? Because that was just, it rolled off the tongue. There was never a moment where you paused. I am impressed with the, I can ramble off. I can talk for 2 straight hours. Obviously, I've got a podcast, but reading out loud is a skill. That was beautiful.
Yeah. You know, I mean, I don't want to brag, but when I was in kindergarten, I was reading at the 8th grade level. So it's something that's just kind of I've always been a little bit ahead of the curve when it comes to reading. And I always write this length of a summary for my Odds Shopper members that want my fight breakdowns, because I feel like the best way to do it is just to take everything into consideration, lay it all out, and then it's easier to make a decision once you've broken down all the facts.
Absolutely. No, beautiful work. I love it. And I totally get it. I think I think he's a different level fighter, man. I think he belongs in the contender circle. I think this is a test. The UFC saw what he could potentially be. And again, the two of you here in the chat, Jonathan saying Bekzat landed 1 strike in the final 2 rounds. Remora saying Bekzat that got 3 significant strikes against Umar. Guys, it was Umar.
Yeah.
It was Umar, okay? He never had a second to breathe, and it came in on short notice against the guy who's going to reign over this division for the next 8 years as soon as he gets another title shot. You're looking at the glass half empty. Look at the glass half full instead. I do not believe Brad Katona can control this guy the way Umar did. We're talking apples and oranges here. It's not the same level of competition. So I totally get it. I respect the dog shot, and Brad Katona is a fighter who I respect for knowing how to win. I do like that about him. He knows how to edge these things out. I just think the big moments are going to swing. You know, even if he doesn't end up knocking Brad out, which I think he's going to end up knocking Brad out, I think he'll steal rounds. I think he'll get knockdowns. I think he'll get the big ooh-ah moments that the judges are going to be looking for. And we've seen Brad's face busted up and bloody before, and that's never a good look. The optics are bad. So I think this guy's going to hurt Brad Katona. And if he has to win by decision, he will. But I think a late KO is what's going to end up happening. That's just me. All right. Real quick, shout out. Polly saying, Clint, you mentioned earlier that you've been doing this for 6 years. I realized I've been watching you for at least 5 of that now. Time is flying. Appreciate the hell out of you being here, Polly. Thank you very much. There's a lot of you that have been with me for that entire 6 years, and you guys just have no idea what that means to me. It's been absolutely fantastic. And we got some early predictions coming up here in the chat. Sam saying free the Hood Wolf. He didn't do anything. So easy. You're making waves out there with the Hood Wolf. Let's get into the next fight. Oh my Lord. Daniel Santos takes on the Korean Tiger, Jeong Lee. This is a really, really fun fight, in my opinion, Wheezy. The only problem I've got is I talked about Daniel Santos not too long ago. He's coming off of yet another canceled fight for medical issues. It's brutal with this kid. 30 years old, shoot-a-box prospect, 11-2 overall. He's coming off a 2-year layoff now with that cancellation. He's had 3 fights very recently canceled due to injuries and health concerns. And when we broke down this fight against Davy Grant just a couple of weeks ago, that was my biggest thing, Wheezy. I know a lot of people were on the Davy Grant side of things, and Davy Grant's my guy. I actually predicted Daniel Santos would be the one to go ahead and derail him here. You know, this late career surge that Davy Grant's had that's been absolutely incredible. I feel like Daniel Santos was a bad matchup for him, and he was going to get the win. And then he pulls out with medical issues again that I'm like, what is wrong with this guy? He looks so tough and so durable in the cage. If he can just get to the cage healthy, he's an absolute beast. But if he can't make it to the cage healthy, that's the kind of stuff that just buries somebody's career. It's taking years off of his prime. Who knows what version of him we're getting? Is he limping into the cage because he's going to lose his job if he pulls out of another fight? That's the kind of stuff I worry about in this kind of spot. He has marauding forward pressure. He likes to get in there and bang. Powerful knees and kicks when he gets into close range. He forces a full MMA fight. He will mix in those takedowns, and he knows how to secure some moments in those fights. Recently promoted to BJJ black belt, 73% takedown defense. Kid's got the whole package at this point of his career that I'm looking for to get on if I can, but I'm concerned with his health. And he's a pick'em against Jeong Lee, who's 29 years old, also 11-2. He's a road to UFC fighter, and he's 2-1 so far in his UFC career. He's coming off getting smoked by Haider Amel. I mean, smoked, Wheezy. Haider's one of those fighters that I just can't believe keeps winning, right? I keep thinking the guy is too old. He's a little too flashy. He's just going to be a flash in the pan, right? He can't keep up this wild finishing streak of his, but he keeps doing it. I keep being wrong. Haider Amel's just that freaking dude, apparently. But Jeong Lee, decent forward pressure. I like his range control. You know, he dips out of range pretty well when he wants to shift the striking ranges from like boxing to kickboxing. He knows how to stay safe. He is willing to bite down on the mouthpiece and trade, and that's what got him hurt in the Haider Amel fight. I like his hips. He does swing a little bit wild. He does swing a little bit from the hip. He is a little bit hittable, and his wins are suspect. You know, guys like Builder, who's not doing great. Yazi, who's barely hanging on to a roster spot coming off road to UFC. Jeong Lee will be 3 inches taller. He will have a 6-inch reach advantage in this spot. And the line is very, very competitive, Wheezy. Minus 115 on the side of Jeong Lee. Man, I don't like this fight at all, just with all the injury questions, with the fact that now you've got Daniel Santos moving up to 145 pounds to take on somebody that the UFC is very obviously wanting to get behind. If they could buy a win for these road to UFC guys, they would. So I don't know if his physicality cheat code is going to be enough up an extra 10 pounds here. I kind of feel like the deck is a little stacked against Wiley Kant Santos. I'm going to pick Jeong Lee to win this fight. I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. I'm a little bit more intrigued by the under 2.5 here. I think Jeong Lee is probably going to be able to hurt Wiley Cat being the bigger man in there. And if Santos is going to win this fight, it's probably because he does some damage. I don't think he's going to be able to bully a big body like this and do it for 15 straight minutes. So I kind of like violence in this fight. But yeah, man, I think I got to go with Jeong Lee here. What about you?
This is a really difficult fight to cap. You know, I mean, if the people that are watching right now are having a hard time figuring out who's going to win this fight, there's probably really good reasons for that. You know, number one, when Daniel Santos is sitting here on basically a 1 year and 11-month layoff at only the age of 30, there's obviously massive concerns there, right? And then what a lot of people don't know about Santos is that he took 3 years off between 2019 and 2022. So this guy, since the year 2020 started, which is over 5.5 years, almost 5.5 years now, has only had 3 fights in that time. So it's really hard to back inactive fighters. It's really hard. You just don't know how they're going to look. And especially when they're young, because sometimes they're young, they'll take a few years off and they'll look way better. They'll be a completely different version of themselves this time around in the cage. We saw that with Natália Silva, who we'll talk about later. She took like 3 years off between her UFC debut and her last regional scene fight, and she came into the UFC and looked absolutely phenomenal, right? So this guy Santos, though, and here's the other thing, Clint, that's going to make this really difficult to figure out is these guys are just going to meet in the middle and swing. Let's face it. This guy Santos, there is no subtlety to his game at all. He's got 29% distance striking accuracy. That
doesn't sound good, Wheezy.
No,
I'm not a mathematician, but that doesn't sound great.
Well, that's why you bring me on, because I got the math degree from the Harvard of the Midwest. They don't just let anybody into Northern Illinois University. Let me tell you, Clint.
Facts.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of the top schools in the entire country. But yeah,
and did you tell people you got there? Did you tell people you got there on like a choir scholarship? I know that's something you mentioned in the past, that it was your pipes that got you in there.
No, it wasn't any of that. It was all up here, Clint. It was just absolute book brilliance,
He's being modest, you guys. I'm telling you, Wheezy's got a voice like an angel.
But look, Santos has got 29% distance striking accuracy. This guy couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat. But what he does is he just continues to walk right into your face to where he doesn't really even need to be that accurate because he's about this far from your face and he's throwing shots at it. He's got 52% distance striking defense. This guy blocks punches with his face. But that Castaneda fight is a perfect example of what a fighter like this does. He gets in your face, he makes you fight, and if you have any quit in you, and if you have any self-doubt, he's going to find it, he's going to exploit it, and he's going to beat you. Same thing that Haider Emil did to Jeong Lee. As a matter of fact, it's the exact same thing. You watch Haider Emil fight, you watch Daniel Santos fight, you will not find any subtlety in any of their games. You will find no feints. There are no trap setting. The guy is just walking forward like Michael Myers with a machete on Halloween, and he is looking to take your damn head off. So I don't know how to cap this fight. But I think Santos being up at 145 is going to help him. Obviously, when you're having injury problems and then you're tacking a really difficult weight cut on top of those injury problems, it's going to make it so that you're not going to be able to get to the cage. But we just saw Jeong Lee just get broken right in half in his last fight by somebody about Daniel Santos's size in Haider Emil, who's an undersized featherweight. But I mean, when it comes to what Haider Emil does have in size, it's a heart the size of a truck. And you look at a guy like Santos, who, I mean, like Castaneda landed 2 clean head kicks. I don't know how he ate either of them. And not only did he eat them, he recovered in almost no time at all and was already right back on the pressure. And the way that he broke Castaneda is the exact same way that Emil broke Jeong Lee. And plus, I mean, Jeong Lee, I mean, you want to talk about a fraudulent record? I mean, first of all, that Yi Jia fight, he lost all 3 rounds. The judges and the referee literally colluded to get him a win there. He was taken down something like 9 times and controlled for 10 minutes. He landed a handful of significant strikes. There was one time that Yi Jia actually got a takedown. Jeong Lee kicks him in the face while he's down. They stop the fight and then stand them back up. After Yijia had already gotten like 6 takedowns in the fight, like the ref literally was like, oh, Yijia just got fouled. Here's an opportunity to fuck this young man even more than we're going to fuck him when these scorecards come out. So
It's some PFL level ref and shit.
Yeah. Jeong Lee lost to Yijia. He lost all 3 rounds. Blake Builder is just awful. I thought Blake Builder was going to be good. I thought Blake Builder was kind of going to be what Hyder Emil has become. I was wrong about that. And then, I don't hold anything against Jeong Lee for losing to Hyder Emil. I think that kid's incredible. I love the way that Emil fights. So yeah, this is a great fight. I can't wait. Don't miss this fight because it's going to be all action. Somebody's probably getting finished, even though Santos has never been finished as a professional. And I think that these guys are just going to meet in the middle and put on an absolute show. I don't know who's going to win, but I'm probably going with Daniel Santos because I think he's got more durability and more heart. And in the style of fight that I see this taking place as, those are going to be the 2 most important characteristics of the winner is going to be the person that can take the most and the person that wants it the most, because these guys are just going to swing.
That's fair. That's fair, Wheezy. I lean to the under. I lean to Jeong Lee, but this is a fight, you guys. What do I keep saying? It's what's getting me through these last couple of months. It's a coin I don't need to flip. This is a coin flip fight, and unless you feel like you've got a significant edge, which currently I don't feel like I do, just watch this one. Fireball and popcorn. I mean, we just had Cinco de Mayo. Go get yourself a margarita and a taco. It's okay. You're a week late. They're not going to be upset at you for celebrating during this fight. And just make sure you don't choke on the cabbage, because when somebody eventually gets hit with a big shot, you don't want to be, inhaling grilled fish and some cabbage with some, usually it's a cilantro type of sauce that goes on top of it. I'm fucking hungry now, Wheezy. I'm killing myself over here. All right. Next fight up, you guys. We've got Marc-André Barriault, the power bar himself, takes on Bruno Blindado Silva. This is a fight that I would be massively hyped about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I would have lost my mind about this fight about 4 stinking years ago, Wheezy. Both these guys have fallen off so freaking hard. It's like watching Uncle Rico out here in the cage at this point. They're talking about the wins that they had back at the beginning of their careers. That one time I knocked that guy out. I bet you I could go do that again. That's the kind of fight we're dealing with here. Both these guys are on massive losing skids at this point. They're both getting a little long in the tooth. You've got 35 for Marc-André Barriault. You've got 35 for Bruno Silva, and both of them not so hot. I mean, Bruno's at least losing decisions to some of these guys, whereas Marc-André Barriault's getting knocked out left and right by guys like Dustin Stoltzfus. I thought the step down from Chris Curtis and Joe Pyfer would be enough for Marc-André to be at least competitive. If you're getting cracked and knocked out by Dustin Stoltzfus, you got another thing coming. Dustin's my guy. He's a mangy dog. He saved his career with that win. I'm happy for him. I love the guy, but he shouldn't be knocking you out if your claim is that you're a striker. Marc-André Barriault's a guy that just marauds forward and melts you with pressure. Wheezy, back in the day, you could hit the guy in the face with a lead pipe, and he would just keep on coming. It didn't matter until you finally broke from being exhausted punching him. Those guys only ever go out one way. They're the most fun to watch. They're the most entertaining ever, but they all eventually crack because the human body can only take so much of that shit. And I think we've seen that moment come for this poor guy. Marc-André Barriault's durability has finally abandoned him, and that's going to be an issue here. The thing is, I don't trust Blindado to pull the damn trigger. I don't trust him to get in there and do what he needs to do to actually win this fight. This is a very difficult fight for me. Marc-André Barriault, the home court guy here, minus 150, plus 125 on Bruno Silva. We know that Bruno Silva can be taken down and doesn't really have much of an answer for it. But I also worry that he's got serious power still in his hands. That's always the last thing to go. If he catches Marc-André Barriault early, this fight is over. But once Mark gets rolling downhill, especially with mixing in takedowns, cage control, I think Bruno's just going to end up on his back again like we've seen him for the last couple of fights. So I will say greasy ass over 1.5. I'll say Marc-André Barriault gets one on home soil fading Canadians in Canada has been a thing the last couple of events out there. I'll say Marc-André greases one more out and gets it done. But I don't have any faith in this fight. This will be a fun one to watch. And I do think somebody's going to sleep. It's just a matter of, is it early or is it late? And I'm not sure.
Yeah, this is a weird one, man. But you got to help me out with something here, Clint. I was on Bet Rivers, obviously because I'm a degenerate gambler. I spend a lot of time on betting sites. Did you know that Bruno Silva is a ranked middleweight?
He's ranked?
Yeah. According to
ranked?
Bet Rivers, I'm sorry. According to Bet Rivers, he's got a number 12 next to his name. Indicating that he is the 12th ranked middleweight, and I'm having a real hard time with this. Did I mention that I have a math degree from the Harvard of the Midwest? Explain to me.
Because I thought I misheard you. Yeah. I was trying, my brain couldn't catch up that I was like, I had to have heard that wrong. He's ranked?
Yeah, that's what Bet Rivers says. Bet Rivers is saying that he's the 12th ranked middleweight. Bruno Silva has lost 6 of his last 7 fights. So,
wow.
I mean, how is that possible, first of all? And, yeah, Barrio's
these days, huh?
I mean, can you imagine how I guess I'm 14th. I just got to be able to make 185, It's unbelievable. Bet Rivers made a mistake, says my guy Brady.
I'm looking up for the UFC rankings right now. He is not in the top 15.
Well, thank God for that. Why is Bet Rivers have a 12 next to his name? I was
some
looking
faith
at that.
in humanity restored. We
have
a win.
Good. That's very good. So Bet Rivers, get some help. He is not the 12th ranked.
Bet Rivers is the alcoholic
LFA middleweight. But not right now in the UFC. So yeah, this is a bizarre fight because Mark was somebody that absolutely stayed in your face, relied on his durability, tried to outwork you. And yeah, once the durability goes and you're fighting with that style, you become a very ineffective fighter at this level. The problem is that when you have a bad chin, you still have to have somebody touch it. And I mean, I don't know what's going on with Bruno Silva, but he's not there. And the one thing that you will almost never hear fighters being honest about is that they don't want to be in there. We know it before they admit it. You see it with some fighters. You're like, that individual is trying 12 years.
That was good.
That was good. But you always know it before they know it, that it's over, that the durability is gone, that the chin is cracked, that they don't want to be in there anymore. Bruno Silva came out and told us. He just came out and was like, yeah, I don't want to be here anymore. And then you just don't expect, when you hear that come out of a professional athlete's mouth, to see them rebooked again.
Yeah, it's weird.
Here we are. So, Barrio got knocked out by Stoltzfus. I think Barrio is going to probably run through him, but the thing is that Bruno Silva never gets finished by knockout. You have to submit this guy to get him out of there. So Marc-André Barrio by decision is sitting at plus 265 on Bet Rivers this week. I think that might not be a bad look because he would have to be the first person to actually knock out Bruno Silva as a professional. And we've seen Bruno Silva go 3 rounds with Shara Magomedov, with Alex Pereira, with some really big hitters of the division. So, yeah, I think Barrio by decision is the one at plus 265 that has the most meat on the bone and kind of fits both into both of fighters' narratives right now.
Yeah, I don't mind that, Wheezy. I don't mind that at all. I mean, I wouldn't be in the least bit shocked if he was just done to the point that the ref steps in and saves him. That's a thing that I think we see from time to time where when they do get their first KO loss, when it finally is time and it finally happens, it's because he just can't be bothered to get off his back. It's because he didn't train as hard in practice. He's here for a check. And so this isn't the guy that you were thinking of in the octagon. This is a man who's willing to accept bottom position. And when Barrio just doesn't stop elbowing, the ref is paid to do something. The ref is paid to save someone's life. So eventually they'll go, you know what? That's enough. That'll be enough right there. So I kind of don't mind, don't play the specifics. maybe go round 2, round 3 for Barrios. And don't worry, because it could be a sub. The guy's got some subs on him, and we know that's the weakness for Bruno, but it also could just be a mercy killing at that point. I don't trust the biggest thing I'm trying not to do, Wheezy, is bet on people who don't have chins, because all Blindado's got to do is bite down on the mouthpiece and decide he wants to throw one more for old time's sake, and he could win this fight via first round knockout.
Yeah, and it's like you say, man, you know, they've never been knocked out until they are. And then once they are, you know, then you don't really get the same price on it ever again. So maybe this will be the time. But yeah, they're giving you plus 215 for Barrios KO, but his decision prop is 265 and his submission prop is plus 1600. So it's weird, you know, because they're basically telling you, yeah, he's going to knock out Bruno Silva. But how is Barrios going to do it if Alex Pereira couldn't? So yeah. I don't know. It's a weird fight, and obviously, if Bruno does land, this guy's got 20 professional wins by KO. That's just something that that you don't want to be backing if you're on the wrong side of it and it goes tits up. It's going to be ugly.
I'll just say I think the grappling makes the difference, Wheezy. Like this guy can kickbox with anybody, and Alex Pereira, avoiding that left hook, you know, sticking and jabbing, trying to clinch up Pereira, that's a completely different fight. Marc-André dragging your ass to the mat, waiting for you to get up, sitting you back down, doing it again. Like, that's the kind of thing that'll cause you to break. So I could see a TKO. Not a KO, but a TKO, where the referee has to do something about it. But shout out Energy TV. What's going on, my guy? 2 weeks in a row in the chat. Good to see you, my friend. We're all members of the Skullet gang around here, so good to see you in here. Can't wait to watch you fight, Charles. I was looking at some of the stuff that you were posting on the web today. We got Monk, who is throwing up stats for people when it comes to the activity for Jasmine Jasudavicius, and Charles Johnson up on top of that list as well. We love the activity. So thanks for being here again, man. Appreciate you tuning into the show. All right, guys, do me a favor and hit the like button. Let's move this bad boy along. Next fight up, we've got Navajo Stirling, and he's taking on Ivan Erslan. I forgot about Ivan Erslan, Wheezy. I really did. I feel a little bad for it because once I ran back that fight with Ion Cutelaba, that was a damn good fight.
Yeah.
Like this guy's a 14-4, 33-year-old American top team kickboxer dude coming into the UFC from KSW, and running that fight back, Wheezy, I thought he won. He dropped a split decision in his debut to Ion Cutelaba, and I really thought he won that fight. And on top of that, for being a KSW kickboxer dude, he was taking Ion down. Like he was winning grappling exchanges with this monster grappler who calls himself the Hulk. He was able to reverse situations and get on top. There were moments where it looked like he was a little gassed. It looked like he was a little tired, and he was still able to do exactly what he needed to do to recover a position and make sure he was in a good spot, doing damage. Like, that was a very well-rounded opening bell for this guy's UFC career. Now he's taking on the hot new prospect, Navajo Stirling, 27 years old, 6-0, 1-0 off Dana White's Contender Series after just murdering Tuco Tokos, which one of the nastiest highlights you'll ever see. City kickboxing prospect making his UFC debut. Very tall, very long. He showed a good sprawl, some solid hips. We know the city kickboxing guys have developed that anti-grappling style so that they can stand on the feet and keep their work rate up. Nice jab, controls the range well. He does the elbows in close, which I love, and he rips the body. I love the body work on this kid. He's going to be 2 inches taller, and he will have a 7-inch reach advantage. But folks, this is your PSA moment here. We are dealing with the year of our Lord 2025. And we're dealing with a 27-year-old 6-0 undefeated prospect. We all know what this means. This Wheezy is going to be Ivan Erslan or pass. I don't care how hyped this kid is. I don't care how good his striking is. I don't care that everybody's behind him. He's a minus 300 favorite with one UFC fight over a bum who I'm not even sure belongs in the cage right now. And his opponent is a KSW striker that damn near won his UFC debut over a mainstay guy, a guy that's flirted with top 15 in the UFC. And we're getting plus 240. Ivan Erslan, it's dog or pass. It's the year of the defeated prospect. These undefeated kids are getting rushed and they're losing their O's, and it's just something in the water. It's only betting against Navajo Stirling for me. I know he looked good in his UFC debut. I get it. I think Ivan Erslan can take this guy down. I think Ivan Erslan can strike with this guy. I think Ivan's tough and durable enough to hang in there if he's got to take a couple of moments that aren't going his way. Do we know any of that about Navajo Stirling? Do we know this guy's chin checks out at the UFC level? Do we know if he can get up after being taken down 2-3 times? I've seen he's got a good sprawl. What next? I think this is dog or pass, man. I think this is way too wide of a price. And just because of the trend of 2025, I'm extremely tempted on the dog here.
Yeah, I bet against Stirling with Tokos, because it's really hard to back a 5-0 fighter making their UFC debut when you know for a fact that they've got less than 3 years of MMA experience and they're one-dimensional. If this guy was a pure kickboxer up until 2 years and 7 months ago, I'm just assuming that you can take this guy down and dominate him on the ground. Absolutely. Tokos was a brown belt. Tokos had a couple of wins by submission in his professional career. And he had, been opportunistic with those submissions, finding them in scrambles and stuff. So I took a shot. And at the end of the day, I wasn't really that disgusted with the bet. I mean, obviously, Tokos didn't look great, but it kind of showed me that if you want to push a grappling heavy pace against Navajo, that he's not quite ready for it yet at this level, but he's getting better. He's only 27 years old, and this guy's striking is very, very good. I mean, he's got great kicks. He's got good distance management, good volume. And what I really like about Navajo is you could tell when fighters are extremely comfortable in the cage. They have a low energy style. They don't panic. They're getting their reads. They're patient. They trust their toolbox. They trust their skill set. And as a result, they're not desperate out there. They're letting the openings kind of present themselves. And they have the self-confidence and the skills in order to wait for the opportunities to land those big shots. And I see that out of Navajo. Ivan is somebody that I watched a lot of tape on, and I was like, please, Ivan, show me some offensive grappling. Please, show me some offensive grappling. There's none. Ivan gets his takedowns when his opponents try to take him down. So Ivan's got some really nice anti-grappling. He'll get an underhook, and he's got good hips, and he will actually be the one that puts you on your back when you shoot in on a takedown on him. As a matter of fact, if you watch the takedowns that he got against Cutelaba, or when he got into top position there, it was because Iwan was the one that was initiating the grappling exchanges. So I think this fight's going to take place standing, and I think Navajo's better than this dude standing. But no, I'm not backing him at minus 300. I can't do that because there's just too much juice there. There's too many unknowns about how Navajo would act if he got cracked, first of all, because Ivan's got serious power. And also how he would react if Ivan was to have some grappling success. Because when Ivan does get on top of other people, he's got great ground and pound, and he can finish you down there. He's got good submission defense. He's got good ground and pound. He's got good anti-grappling. So, I mean, if he winds up on top of Navajo, I think it might be the round, maybe even the fight. So I think there's the value. This is probably a dog or pass fight, but I really wanted to get to an Erslan bet. I watched the shit out of all of his recent tape. I mean, he goes 5 rounds with Chuzagayev, and he's getting his face boxed off, Clint. How many takedowns did he shoot? 0. And
that's the worst.
Yeah. And the other thing that pisses me off about Erslan is I've never seen this guy throw a kick. He only throws hands. He's got a boxing background. He's
basically an Azatar brother.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like a less militant Zaitar brother. Yeah, Croatia stand up. Yeah, I like Erslan. I think he's got good power. I think he's a good, fairly well-rounded fighter. I need to see offensive grappling if I'm going to pick him to win here. I didn't see it, and he gets hit a lot too. So I'm thinking Navajo might even get a knockout here in the second round. I think he's going to, get his reads, find the opening, and I think he'll probably get him out of there. But once again, I'm not laying minus 300 on a dude with 6 pro fights, and that's probably pretty one-dimensional with less than 3 years of MMA experience. So, yeah, dog or pass, and this is going to be probably just a pass for me.
That's probably fair. That's probably fair, Wheezy. It's probably going to be a pass for me as well. I mean, I keep doing this, Wheezy, where I'm like, hey, this is the move, this is the angle, and I've got the angle, and then I'm too chicken to go ahead and use the angle. So I didn't bet on Reiner de Ritter. I said Bo's going to squeeze one out, and I'll just stay off of it. Could have bet Reiner de Ritter and cashed like a plus 500 instead. I just get to feel like I was a little bit right. So I'm not sure if I want to pull the trigger on this one or not, because I'm right there with you. I'm nervous about it. Navajo Stirling's a kid that obviously the UFC is excited about and obviously has a relatively high ceiling, it seems. So I don't know that I want to be picking this guy to go ahead and bet against. So Ivan, it's dog or pass. It's probably just going to end up being a pass. Yeah. We'll see. I have plenty of other action on this card. I think that's kind of the saving grace for me, Wheezy, is I have so much other action on this card that I don't have to have a bet for this one.
Yeah, me too. I've got several bets already, and we're going to talk about my next bet in the next fight. And yeah, this is a great card, and some of the fights that you may not want to bet might be some of the most fun fights to watch. So I love UFC 315. The matchmakers did a phenomenal job on this one.
It's such a good card. And you queued it up great, Wheezy. So let's roll right on into the next fight. Modestas Bukauskas takes on Ion the Hulk Cutelaba. And you know what, Wheezy? Since it's your first bet of the night, why don't I pass this one off to you? Let's go. You go ahead and lead this one off. Break it down. Talk to me. I need to know where your action's at for this one.
Yeah, sure. I mean, Modestas has really picked it up lately, right? He got cut from the UFC, and on his way out of the UFC, you know, Khalil Roundtree basically broke his leg in half with an oblique kick. And it was, you know, kind of looked like Modestas might be done for a career. You know, that kind of an injury, you may never come back and be the same fighter. And if you're not physically ready to fight at this level, you know, I mean, the level of talent that you're fighting at the UFC, you know, you're not going to get away with not being 100% in the octagon. So Modestas went back to the regional scene. He had a couple of the most boring fights that have ever been put on tape against Chuck Campbell, and I think it was Lee Chadwick. I'm not exactly sure, but they were awful fights. But he won both of them. He gets back to the UFC. He beats Tyson Pedro. He beats Zach Pauga. He gets finished by Vitor Petrino, who's a very good prospect. But then he comes out and he puts out two more wins, Prochnio and then Cerquera. Ion Cutelaba looks like he's starting to turn it around. After he got his ass shaved by Kennedy and Nzechukwu, he went out there and beat Tanner Boser, lost a decision to Felipe Lins, and then goes out there and gets a win over Ivan Erslan, goes out there and submits Ibo Aslan in the next fight. And I just think that Cutelaba, obviously, I mean, it's not just me who thinks this. This guy has got a massive strength to schedule advantage over Modestas Bukauskas. When you add up the records of the guys that Modestas has fought at the UFC level, you get 37 wins, 38 losses. He's clearly getting better, Modestas. He's still only 31 years old. It's extremely young for this division. And the takedown defense is getting better. The grappling game is getting better. But he's always had really good cardio, and he's always had really good technical kickboxing. But the thing is, Ion Cutelaba is a much better wrestler than Modestas Bukauskas. He's fought the much better brand of competition. You add up the records of the guys that Cutelaba's fought. It's 121 wins and 83 losses. When you look at the guys that are beating Ion Cutelaba, you know, you got to go back and find Misha Serkinov, Jared Cannonier, Glover Teixeira, former champion, Magomed Ankalaev twice, current champion, Ryan Spann, who can finish anybody in the first round, Johnny Walker, Kennedy and Nzechukwu, and Philip Lins. So he's out there beating Aslan and Erslan and Boser, Devin Clark. He's got a win over Khalil Roundtree, beats Antigulov and Enrique de Silva and Jonathan Wilson. He's fighting at a higher level. He's got more ways to win this fight. And frankly, I think that Ion Cutelaba might even be the more powerful striker. And I know this, he's definitely the more durable guy. Modestas is getting dropped on the regular. He's a little bit low volume. and he's going to have to worry about that wrestling. And even Yeong Cutelaba in his last fight against Ivo Erslan, I remember I had a big bet on his KO prop because I famously said that Yeong Cutelaba didn't even know how to spell sub. And what does he do? Just a perfect arm triangle, sets it up beautifully. Ivo turns right into it, and I'm screaming no at the top of my lungs, even though I had a bet on his money line as well. But yeah, it was good to see Yeong because Iwan's Brazilian jiu-jitsu has always been terrible. Like he'll get your back, and then he'll just slide right off. He'll look for a rear naked choke, and then he'll wind up on bottom. If he can start to do a little bit better in terms of staying on top, because he's already got excellent ground and pound, and if he can start setting up submissions and getting the dominant positions, I really like him to win this fight. I feel like this line is way off. You rarely get the guy with the much tougher strength to schedule, the more well-rounded skill set, and I think he's got more power and more durability on the feet as well. So where is Modestas Bukauskas going to be better than Yeong? I think maybe conditioning. I think he's probably the more technical striker. Maybe, right? But other than that, I'm a little bit confused by this line. I'm interested to hear your thoughts.
Weezy, you didn't leave a whole lot of meat on the bone for me to cover on this one, and that's okay. I'm good with that. Because I completely agree with you. Yeong Cutelaba is a guy that I've had a bit of a love-hate relationship with. Love the guy, huge fan, love the green makeup, love the Hulk moniker, love how he screams in Khalil Roundtree's face and makes him flinch harder than, a junior high school kid facing down his bully at lunchtime. I love Yeong. I absolutely love Yeong Cutelaba. But he's a tough guy to bet for me because he does do some stupid shit. His fight IQ can be a problem. I'll never forget the night that I lost a bet because he pretended so badly to be rocked against Magomed Ankalaev that the ref believed him and stepped in and waved the fight off. Like, he plays possum too often. He does too much goofy stuff in the cage. But if it weren't for that, he's got the skill set that you need everywhere. Like you mentioned, he checks every box. He's going to be the better wrestler. Maybe technical striking at range, Modestas is going to have an advantage. I think power goes to Yeong Cutelaba, and the cardio of Modestas, I think, is something that you could say he's got an advantage in. But this is a 3-round fight, guys. That is not going to matter. That won't come into play. Modestas gets a bunch of round 4 and round 5 finishes on the regional scene because guys are just too tired to keep up with him, and he'll skate around the outside of the cage forever. Yeong's got 3 rounds. So even if he starts to lag a little bit in round 3, if he sinks in those first 2 rounds, there's no problem. Modestas Bukauskas is a lot like a younger Sam Alvey. He's just too low volume. He tries to walk you into big punches, and if you don't just completely go along with his game plan, he falls apart. He doesn't have a plan B. It's move, right hand. And if you don't walk into that right hand, there's not much else happening. Now, he's got okay power, and it's going to sound strange talking about having okay power because he's coming off a brutal round 1 KO win. But let's face it, guys. Rafael Sequeira, yes, I put my hard-earned money on him, but he's a fake fighter. He doesn't belong in the UFC. We figured that out in a hurry. Marcin Prachnio is almost a 500 fighter. He's the worst guy in the division at the UFC level. I don't know how he managed to get a win over Devin Clark. That should never have happened. He's awful. So the only guys that Modestas Bukauskas is beating is the literal bottom of the UFC barrel. Tyson Pedro's gone. Zach Paugua's gone. Marcin will be cut soon. Rafael Sequeira's gone. Like, these are the only guys that he's able to beat. Whereas Yeong Cutelaba has been around for years, and he's gone 500 against good competition. Yes, he's stepped up and lost to guys that could potentially challenge for a title. Yes, he's lost to contenders. He's lost to some of the staples. And like we talked about, Ryan Spann, a guy who can beat anybody in round 1. He loses to some of those guys, sure. But he's got legitimate wins. He's got legitimate wins. And at 31 years old, it looks like he's kind of coming into his own, which is crazy because I thought he was 35, 36 years old. Nope. But he's working with Spivak for this fight, Wheezy. He's wrestling a heavyweight. He's going to be ready to push around extra poundage in that cage, and he's going to have a grappling heavy focus. He just got promoted to BJJ purple belt. This guy is buying in on his MMA career. He is rounding out his MMA skill set. I'm buying in on Yeong Cutelaba. I've already got 2.16 units at the minus 108 price tag that's currently out there. I don't understand why this line is so close. And I've had a real good read on Modestas Bukauskas in general since he's come back to the UFC. I think people are buying in on the hype that this guy's new, changed, and different. He's not. Yeong Cutelaba, if anything, is the guy who's new, changed, and different. I think he's going to wipe the floor with Modestas, and Modestas's creaky ass chin is going to come into play again this week, Wheezy. People forget. It's been a long time since we've seen the fruits of labor when it comes to how chinny this guy is. They write off the Vitor Petrino check hook like, oh, but that's just Vitor Petrino. That guy's got power. No, the reality is none of these other guys could touch him on the chin. That chin is a problem. I think Ion's just going to pound him the hell out. He's going to get him on the mat, and he's going to beat him through the floor.
Yeah, I mean, like Cutelaba is the same age as Bukauskas, but he's got 8 more pro fights. He's got 9 more fights at the UFC level. He's got the more dependable chin. He's got the better offensive power numbers. He's the much better grappler. And if this dude gets on top of you, gets the half guard, starts raining down ground and pound, there are going to be problems, man.
Absolutely. I am very happy that we see that fight similarly. I was afraid that you were going to come in here and tell me that there was some stat, some number that I should be terrified of that proved me wrong here. But I'm glad we're lining up, man, because I think it's Hulk season on Saturday. Let's freaking go, Weezy.
Let's go.
Let's go. All right, guys. Next fight up is going to be a women's MMA extraordinaire. We have got Jéssica Andrade, and she takes on Jasmine Jasudavicius, who I've had a back and forth tumultuous relationship with. You guys know when Jazz first made it to the UFC, I said she was big. That's it. That's it. She's big and she wins fights because she's big. She's not that good. She's just big. I've since come back on that a little bit. She's obviously worked very, very hard on her skill set. Her grappling very much impresses me, and her striking has come a long way. Now, her bread and butter is still obviously the grappling, right? Like, we're not going to get too into the weeds about her striking. She does still have defensive flaws, and that's a problem. But that physicality that I kind of shit on her for when she first made it to the UFC, it's something that we need to be lifting her up for. I mean, she won the genetic lottery. Congratulations, you're massive. But it works in women's MMA. Wheezy, that's the biggest thing that I see in women's fights that works, is if you're just bigger and stronger and heftier than your opponent, you know, not that, you know, some of the women, obviously the skill manages to outweigh the size bullying, but I feel like it's far more effective in the women's division, whereas a lot of the men, they can be slick enough, they can be savvy enough, they'll find the hole in the game and they'll make it work. The physicality is just overbearing in the women's weight classes. Jéssica Andrade, 33 years old, you know, kind of like Yeong Cutelaba we were just talking about. I am shocked she's 33. She feels like she's 38 at this point. She's been around freaking forever. She's had her career basically die and resurged not once, but twice. She went through the divorce where they were giving her a fight every other weekend so she could make her money back and make up for it. I don't know if we're getting motivated Jéssica Andrade. I don't know if we're getting paycheck Jéssica Andrade. It's always a question with her. Every time she steps in the cage, you do not know the version of Andrade that you're getting. At her best, she is a championship level fighter. She can bang, she can grapple, she can tough out bad positions, she can choke you out. She's got murderous power in her hands, and she'll always come forward and she'll never stop looking for that kill. But then you also get times where she just gets mauled. Like you'll get moments like, and again, Tati Suarez is somebody who I thought was going to be champion, so I'm not going to knock her too badly for that. But I mean, just absolutely blows through her on the mat. It's just that black belt, that wrestling, like she forgot how to use all that somewhere along the line. And she's not making any off-season improvements. She's not training and developing. She's just getting right back in there. So, you know, it's not coming back. And so now she's in the wrong weight class, Wheezy. We've seen her bounce back and forth between 115 and 125. The results are drastically different. She does well at 115 pounds. The power is there at 115 pounds. She's harder to take down at 115 pounds. The same is not true at 125. When she's at 125, she can get bullied in there. And that's all this fight comes down to me. Jazz is not the more technical fighter here, but she is the bigger fighter. And at this point, I think she is the hungrier fighter. She's on her home stage in Canada, and they paid Jessica Andrade an extra $10K to take this fight up at 125 instead of being at 115 where she's comfortable. I think this has Jazz round 3 TKO written all over it, where again, she just is going to take this girl down. She's going to lay on top of her. And we've seen the work she does in the ground and pound. We've seen the elbows. We've seen that killer instinct and how mean and nasty she is. I wouldn't be surprised if the ref has to pull her off of Jessica Andrade and there's a bloody pool left underneath her when she's done.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're seeing this one the same way, because I think of Jessica Andrade. She reminds me a lot of Kevin Holland right now, where you could take the 170-pound Kevin Holland and say, that's the serious Kevin Holland.
Yep.
That's the one that's going to go out there and go life or death with Jack Della Maddalena. That's the one that's going to be able to out-grapple Gunnar Nelson. You move him up to 185 and you send him out there against, De Ridder and somebody, like he's getting knocked down by Oleg Sachek, pull the fucking armbar out of his ass there. Jessica, at this point in her career, we need her to be down at 115. That's where she's going to do her best work. And if you're going to ask her to move up to 125, she shouldn't be taking a fight against somebody like Jasmine. Jasmine's 5'7". Jasmine has a 68-inch reach. You're not getting this woman off of you if she gets on top of you. And the size difference is too big for me to be able to think seriously for a minute that Jessica's going to be stopping the takedowns. Jasmine's takedowns? How does Jasmine get her takedowns? Tell me.
I mean, she just kind of blows people over from what mostly body lock, upper body shit, like just being bigger and being meaner and being tougher, man.
Yeah. And
she's not finessing you. There's no ankle picks here.
Yeah. I think back to my judo days, when you got somebody that's 6 inches shorter than you, you could just put your arms around them and fall forward and they're going down, So that's what Jasmine can do here. She's going to be able to close the distance, and when she gets her hands on Jessica, I just don't know how Jessica's going to be able to out physical her, how she's going to be able to stop the types of takedowns that Jasmine gets work against smaller, less physical opponents so much easier. And I think my guy Brady's been hacked.
Bro, he must have done a couple shots before the show started, because
no, he got hacked, dude. Like somebody posted a picture of Jessica Andrade on his Twitter a few days ago and said, "Hear me out." I'm thinking it's our guy Lou Sassoli who did that to him, but yeah, he's been hacked, and I think now they've hacked his YouTube account. Somebody go check on Brady, make sure he's all right, because he did not finish 9 times while taping this fight, and if he did, he's not working hard enough. He needs to concentrate on the actual taping instead of the other stuff. But I think that this is going to be very difficult for Jessica to keep this fight standing, because Jasmine's just too big and too physical for her. So while of course if this fight does stay standing and Jessica gets the forward pressure going, starts landing big shots to the body, we could potentially see a finish here. I think that this one probably does finish inside the distance. Jessica has been finished in 8 of her 11 UFC losses. And when Jasmine gets on top of these girls, it's brutal. She's very mean. I saw a clip of her, I don't know if it was on Twitter, something to the effect of where she was saying that there's that switch that you got to flip inside of you when you get into that cage, knowing that it's your job to hurt that person across from you, and that it's not personal, but that's your job. And real quick, I remember Ronda Rousey talking about how she learned how to do the arm bar, and it was because her mother was a high-level judoka. And when you travel around the world and are fighting at the highest level, you're going to go places where you're going to lose the match no matter what, because the ref that's reffing the fight in Russia while you're fighting the Russian fighter is going to give you less points on the throws that you complete, and they're going to give them more throws on the throws that they complete. You're going to get cheated out of a win. So Ronda's mom told her, here's how you avoid that. You take them down and you break their arm in half so they cannot continue, and that's how you win. And she used to sneak into her room every morning before her alarm went off and pounce on Ronda, and she wouldn't get off of Ronda until Ronda locked up an armbar.
Worst
so that
alarm
was how
clock
Ronda
ever.
Yeah, right. I mean, like that's when you know your mom's a judo black belt. It's going to be a tough upbringing, but that's how Ronda learned how to finish fights. That's how Ronda got to the Olympics. That's how Ronda earned a bronze medal, was by going out there and being able to finish fights when she was in enemy territory. And that's something that I think that Jasmine's going to be able to do here, because she has that switch that she can flip inside of her, where she's probably a really nice person in real life, but when this young lady gets on top of you, it's really, really bad. And I think it's going to be horrible for Jéssica. I think it's going to look a lot like when Valentina took her down and just destroyed her. I think it's going to look a lot like when Tatiana took her down and just destroyed her. And when you put her up at 125 pounds, it just makes it even more likely that that's going to be the case. I think Jasmine's probably a really good parlay piece here. I think they sent Jéssica Andrade up a weight class to Canada for a reason, and that's to get Canada's hottest fighter right now another big win in front of her home crowd, and probably a finish. Yeah,
they're trying to get Canada a title shot, and that's how this is going, man. I'm right there with you. I couldn't agree more. I've got a 2-leg parlay. It is Bekzat from earlier in the evening. We talked about it, the curtain jerker, with my girl Jasudavicius. That came out to plus 106 when I made it, Wheezy. That's a 3-unit parlay for me. I love this spot for Jazz, and as long as the Bantamweight King can do his job and get the Bantamweight fight right to start the show, I think that Jazz will cash that money line parlay. And like I said, I think I'm looking round 2, round 3 for Jasmine. I think she gets her out of there with submissions or ground and pound, something like that, because she is vicious and she's going to look for that finish. All right, guys, next fight. No, pause. Got to shout out Spectation Sports, you guys. If you haven't checked out Spectation Sports yet, you're missing out. You need to. Plenty of new shows, plenty of new entertainment coming up. Synergy 20 right around the corner. Legends of Combat 2, a brand new organization just getting the ball rolling on May 10th. You guys don't want to miss out. If you need more MMA action, this is where you'll find it. We're getting regular double headers. We got Thursday shows, Friday shows, Saturday shows. Promo code DieHard will get you 20% off your subscription when you sign up. Go ahead and give them a follow on social media as well, you guys. Their Twitter handle, they're always posting clips and stuff like that. If you want to find out about young up-and-coming MMA fighters and stars, guys that are going to be on Dana White's Contender Series, you know what? I've got one that I wanted to bring to your guys' attention, because they just posted this kid, and I talked about him, I think, last week on the podcast, Wheezy. Bryce Warner. Remember that name. Bryce Warner. This kid is a nasty, high-level grappler with cardio for days. And in his last fight, he dragged this dude deep into round 3, and then he got the tap with like a modified rear naked choke situation right there that you guys just saw. He is a prospect that you guys are going to want to be aware of. He's a prospect that you guys are going to want to circle. I bet you he's getting that call, Wheezy. I am like, I don't have sources, but I would bet you we're going to see him on the next season of Dana White's Contender Series. If not this season, then the one after that. Bryce Warner is somebody you guys want to know about. Again, link in the description below. Check it out. Spectation Sports, they're an up-and-coming player in the game, and promo code DieHard will get you a 20% discount when you sign up for their service. You guys, it's UFC 315 pay-per-view fight week. We're about halfway through this card, little over halfway through this card. I'm joined by the man himself, Uncle Wheezy, and we have got over 500 of you rocking live. Do me a favor again, hit the like button, subscribe if you have not, and make sure you're supporting my guy Wheezy as well. One of the best guys in the game, kind enough to share his time and information and statistics with us this evening, and also his loving singing voice. If you're tuning in now, you missed it. He gave us a power ballad earlier in the show, and it was incredible. I cried a little. Make sure you go back to the beginning of the show to check that out. You don't want to miss that. Next fight up, we've got Canada's own Mike Malott taking on Chuck Buffalo, Charles Radtke, the man that they have to be ready with the buzzer as soon as the microphone gets into his hand. Luckily, they put him on pay-per-view this time, so they don't have to censor anything that he says. They're not allowed to put this guy on a national TV coverage type of fight because they're afraid of what he will spout once he gets up there, if he can manage to get the microphone into his hand. You guys, Mike Malott is Canada's favorite son, right? We talked about it already. Jazz truly is the best fighter from Canada right now. She's the person who is holding the flag for this country. She's going to be the next title shot for Canada. Mike Malott is the guy that they are packaging as that, but I promise you he's not. 33 years old, 11-2-1. He got his fraud check from Neil Magny, and that was a beautiful sight to see. This guy got a softball with Trevin Giles and got back on track. Weezy, I ran that fight back. And, Trevin Giles and I have a spotty history, right? Mm-hmm. We've gone back and forth. I've bet on him at the wrong times. I've faded him sometimes at the wrong times. Sometimes he looks really good. And this is one where I wanted so terribly badly to bet on Trevin Giles, but I knew it was a get right spot for Mike Malott. It was a get your confidence back fight for Mike Malott. But Weezy, he looked afraid in that fight. He looked so timid. He came out and he picked and he poked and he moved around and he avoided everything. It was one of the worst, most boring fights we've ever seen. And Mike Malott has this vaunted jiu-jitsu game. He's got this power. They talk about how big and strong and athletic he is. And he just did everything he could to keep this man away from him. Busted up Trevin Giles, broken washed Trevin Giles. He did everything he could to just keep him away for 15 straight minutes. Mike Malott's been chinned more than once. All right. His durability is one of the main reasons why I like to bet against him, because he's a broken man waiting to happen. He's got no durability. He's a grappler who figured out he could strike with a punching bag, but as soon as you put him in there with a human being, he's afraid of him. He's been knocked out twice already. And getting pounded out by a guy like Neil Magny, completely gassing out in the third round of a fight that you're dominating. We saw his true colors. We saw his heart that night, and it wasn't there. He doesn't have one. Now they're locking him in the cage with a savage animal, Wheezy. Chuck Buffalo is 34 years old, and he's the complete opposite of Mike Malott. His skills and his talents are catching up, but what he had first is a vicious killer instinct and a heart that could pound for days. You can beat that thing like a drum. It's incredible. The way he just never stops coming forward, never stops trying to hurt his opponent. And he really is trying to hurt people out there. He enjoys seeing the blood that he can cause coming out of his opponent's body. This man is a born finisher, and he's a kill or be killed fighter that refuses to quit. He's got a filthy left hook. That thing comes out of nowhere, and it comes out of nowhere fast. He is training at my current favorite spot for fighters coming up. What do I tell you guys every week? The best base in MMA right now is training with Belal. This man is out there with GM3, Belal, Corey Anderson. They're going to level up this lump of moldy clay. They're going to turn him into a beautiful sculpture, Wheezy. His wrestling is going to come along. His jiu-jitsu is going to come along. He's going to be more polished as a striker, but he's still going to have that caged animal inside of him. When these two guys get in there and they trade, one of them's going to taste his own blood, smile, and throw a knee at you. The other one is going to run for his life. Wheezy, this is your Link Memorial Dog of the Week, and we're on a heater with the Dog of the Week, you guys. We're doing well. We're doing our boy Link proud right now. I hope you guys follow me on social media. If you're one of the insane psychopaths that has the cojones to still tail me in any capacity, I got plus 200 on Chuck Buffalo this week. Makes no sense. Makes no sense why the line is this wide. But we got a 3-unit banger for the Dog of the Week at plus 200, and he's down to plus 160, plus 165 in most places. So we jumped on it early. We got the good number. The market is agreeing with us, and I think we finally found our spot to really just dig in there, sink our teeth in, and fade the shit out of Mike Malott. I think Chuck Buffalo is going to break him, Wheezy, and I think he's going to finish him. It's going to be round 2 or round 3. I'm not sure it's going to be the round 1 spot, but Chuck Buffalo gets his hand raised. We'll hear this man on the microphone. You might have to mute it so your mom doesn't hear what he says, but it's going to be a good night, and we're going to cash a big ticket. Let's go, Chuck Buffalo.
Yeah, Radtke's been fun to watch, man. And I didn't know he was this good, because when you look at the record that he had coming into the UFC, he's been 3-1 since being here, but he came in at 7-3, and he didn't fight often. Both of these guys have got actually a lot in common. Mike Malott, 14-year MMA career, and this guy's only showed up to fight 14 times. Chuck Buffalo, 12-year MMA career, 12 and a half, and he's only fought 14 times. So both these guys are extremely inactive. Both these guys fought at lower weight classes. As a matter of fact, Malott was fighting down at 145 and 155 before making the move up to 170. And Radtke had kind of put together a bad stretch where he had lost 3 out of 4 fights, but those fights were all at 155. He moves up to 170, and then all of a sudden, he puts together 2 straight wins in CFFC, gets a title shot, beats Raheem Forrest in the first round, and then he gets his short notice shot against Blood Diamond in Australia. A lot of people hated that performance from Chuck, but that was a UFC debut in Australia against a local fighter in front of an unfriendly crowd, and he went out there and he fought really smart. He didn't let Mike Mathetha go out there and kickbox with him.
I'm sorry,
you know?
Mathetha.
I love saying that name. I would call myself Blood Diamond too, or some other dumbass nickname if that was my last name. But either way, and then Mike. You name your kid Mike when the last name is Mathetha. You could have done anything than a name that started with an M. But making the alliteration makes it even worse for the young man. But Charles has got a ton of power. That left hook is perfect. It's like almost Alex Pereira level because there's no wind up on it, and it's clear nasty. That guys freeze when that thing lands. The first time he landed it on Semmelsberger, it looked like it took his brain a full second to reset before he realized where he was, and the fight was over shortly thereafter. So
you don't get a second. He follows up on that thing so well. If you freeze, that's it. You're done.
And then there's the pressure. Chuck doesn't really take any backward steps, so he's going to force a fight. And when you talk about Mike Malott, like if you had like an MMA video game, this would be the fighter that you'd build. Good-looking, marketable kid that speaks well on the mic. He's got a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's a former striking coach at Team Alpha Male. He's got a good frame for the weight class. He finishes all of his wins for the most part. But the one thing that you can't give him, if you're going to give him a 10 in all of the, technical areas of the sport, is maybe the heart isn't there. Maybe the chin isn't there. Maybe the desire isn't there. Maybe you've just been better than everybody because you're gifted and you're clean. And when you go out there against somebody like, Leonis, like Gall, like Trevin Giles, who doesn't do jack shit. I remember when Trevin Giles said that he had the best jab in the UFC. Yeah. And I was like, oh, how about that? Maybe he'll throw it in the next fight. Because like this guy, who the hell says that they've got the best jab in the UFC and then never uses it?
He's a training room guy, Wheezy. He's that guy when the bright lights are off, he's probably a complete badass.
Yeah. And, when you turn him on and you put him in Canada in front of Trevin Giles, he in front of Mike Malott, he didn't do anything. So Charles Radtke is, he may not be the most technical guy, he doesn't have the biggest frame for the weight class. His 10-4 record doesn't really jump off the page. His 70% finish rate as professional doesn't really jump off the page. But like, if you put these guys in a dark alley at midnight, and one guy's coming out alive, my money's on Chuck, dude. I think that he's going to march him down. I think he's not going to let this fight be pretty, which is what Mike Malott needs. And it's funny because when I look at my fight right up here and I look at the advantages and disadvantages for both fighters, right? Look at Mike Malott. He's 1.5 years younger. He's 3 inches taller. He's got a 1-inch reach advantage. He's got a little bit more UFC experience with 1 more fight and 20 more minutes of octagon time. Mike has got the strength of schedule advantage. He's been in there against better fighters at the UFC level than Chuck has. He's the better minute winner at distance striking exchange and in the distance striking exchanges because he throws more and he's got better long range weapons. He throws more kicks. He's the better grappler. If there's a better wrestler here, it's definitely Mike Malott. He's getting his takedowns at a 70% clip.
But Radtke's training is wrestling with Belal, Wheezy.
Yeah,
that's a window that's gonna shrink.
It might shrink, but he still could barely even take down Blood Diamond. Let's be real. You know, he is training with Belal, and that part of his game is definitely getting better. And I'm hearing from the guys at BFS that you know that Chuck's grappling game is way, way, way underrated. You know, that this guy's wrestling and grappling and the way that he puts it together in the gym is phenomenal. And they're talking like he's going to sub Mike Malott. Okay.
That'd be something.
I'm picking Chuck. You know, I've backed this guy several times already at the UFC level. I keep hearing how good this guy is. He does not let me down. I didn't have money on him against Protest because Protest is an absolute maniac. And that knee that he landed, I think, might have exploded his liver into several spots. It was one of the worst knees I've seen since, you know, Renier de Ritter this week was just as bad. But nobody's not getting knocked out by that knee. I'm hearing people say Radtke's weak to the body. Well, yeah, I mean, if I took a sledgehammer to your gut, you'd go down too. You know, I mean, it doesn't necessarily make you weak to the body, but yeah, I like, and I don't really see a lot of advantages on the Chuck Buffalo side. He's got more pro experience. He's probably the better moment winner in the cage. He's probably the more durable fighter, but the better striker is Malott. The better grappler is Malott. He's got the higher level jiu-jitsu. He's got the cleaner striking. He's the better looking kid with the better frame for the weight class, and Chuck's going to walk him down and punch a fucking hole in his face. That's how this is going to work. You know, sometimes you just got to have that dog in you. And if Neil Magny is finishing you, you know, because think about it, right? I mean, outside of that 90 seconds in the third round of the Magny fight, when has Mike Malott ever been out there getting dusted by his opponents? It never happens. But all it takes is one little second for the tide of the fight to change, and this guy's going to start doubting himself. I don't think Chuck Buffalo has a confidence problem. You know?
Mike Malott's not built for war, Wheezy. That's all it comes down to.
Chuck is. Yeah, I think that's the difference here.
Absolutely. I'm glad we see this the same, you guys. Hopefully, we do my boy Link one more good one. Let's get a big one for this one. Plus 200, Wheezy. I want it. I've been cashing a couple of little dogs here and there, the plus 120s, the plus 130s. It's time for a big dog. I need a big bark here on this one. I got to do my boy Link proud. So let's cash this one, you guys. And I'm telling you, I like the inside the distance too. I mean, it's plus 265 over on Bet Online. So hopefully we can get a plus 300 or a plus 350 on that. And just because Wheezy's saying people are whispering the sub might happen, play inside the distance. I think it's KO. Me personally, I think it's the chin of Mike Malott that cracks. I think it's a knockout, but the number isn't drastically different to go from inside the distance to the KO. So maybe just be a little safe on this one. You never know. You never know. Shout out Salty24. What is going on? My man Clintus deserve all the bags. Love the free content, transparency. Get a bottle of Fireball on me. My friend, you are the absolute best. I will do that. I'll make sure we stock the alcohol up for the weekend, because I got to tell you, if we're cashing these tickets the way I think so, I'm going to need something to drink on Saturday this week. Also, recent revelation, white tee shots. I know you guys already make fun of me for drinking Fireball. I drink like a girl. I understand this. Okay. I didn't have a beer phase in college like most people did. I want my alcohol to taste good. Somebody introduced me to a white tee shot, Wheezy. And if you're okay with peach, they go down like nothing. It's delicious. There's no hard after bite, no nothing like that. I woke up with a headache the last time I had them, so you can get a little bit of a hangover going, but they are delicious and they're dangerous because you get 2, 3, 4 of those things deep over the course of a night. You don't realize it, and then they punch you in the mouth. Like that's a fun night right there. Try some white tee shots the next time you guys are out there. Get out in those drinking streets and do your Uncle Clint proud. Next up, we've got a short notice fill in here, Wheezy. Kyle Prepolak is coming in here against Benoit Saint-Denis. And you guys know I am all team BSD. Figgy doesn't get the title anymore. This is your god of war, ladies and gentlemen. And I am not far removed from having a massive futures ticket on BSD to be the champion at the end of the year. He's fallen on tough times, Wheezy. And I will die on this hill that Renato Moicano was a dead man walking in that fight. He mauled Benoit Saint-Denis in round 1, but he left no lunch pail for the drive home. He did not have a parachute, and he was completely out of gas. Saint-Denis had one eye, and that eye was halfway shut in round 2, and he was completely concussed, had no idea where he was, and he was still marching forward and taking minutes off of Renato Moicano in round 2. They talk about being built different. Benoit Saint-Denis is built different. The amount of damage this man can take is unreal. We saw in his UFC debut, they essentially let him die against Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos, and holy crap, he just didn't go down. Same thing here with Renato Moicano. They gave the guy a minute and he recovered and he just kept coming forward. Dustin Poirier is going to be the only guy in history to go down saying he actually knocked out Benoit Saint-Denis, and he had staff for that fight. So, like, that's the deck you've got to stack to be able to finish this guy. He's got brutal power. He's got solid offensive wrestling. He's got a motor that don't quit, and he's got heart for days. I think Benoit Saint-Denis is championship material. At 29 years old, I'm still going to be looking for ways to back this guy every opportunity I can. Kyle Prepelic, the poor Canadian, is coming in here on short notice, and I'll be honest with you, Weezy, I have not had time to tape Kyle. It's been too long since I've seen him. I can't talk to you a ton about his skill set, but at 35 years old, an 18-8 guy, he's fighting, making what looks to be his second run in the UFC. So it's kind of a UFC debut. You know, back in the day, he got a shot against Nordine Taleb. He went 0-2 against Taleb and Hubbard of all people, and then immediately went back to the regionals where he's kind of been bouncing back and forth, win, lose a little bit. He's fighting 25 and 29 bums. Like, this is going to be a slaughter. Benoit Saint-Denis is going to wreck this man. I mean, congratulations for fighting in the UFC in your home country of Canada, in front of your wife and your mother and your grandmother. And I hope your kids don't have front row seats, because this guy might hang up the gloves at the end of this one, Weezy. It's not going to be competitive. Benoit Saint-Denis every way by Tuesday, unless this guy breaks his big toe getting into the cage. There's no chance Kyle wins this fight.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what a Prepelic win looks like here, other than maybe an injury for BSD, or maybe he shits himself out. I think if you shit yourself, it's an automatic loss. You know, so that could happen. You know, maybe he gets a bad batch of poutine up there in Canada, and who knows? But you know, and Prepelic is a striker. When he fought Austin Hubbard, he kicked his leg so bad that even though Hubbard won the fight, Hubbard got compartment syndrome and almost had to have his leg amputated. Yikes. After the Prepelic fight. So yeah, kickboxer, he's going to look to knock you out early. And Benoit's got, you know, I mean, I suppose Benoit could be hit. I mean, obviously he doesn't have good striking defense, never did, but he's all offense. So I think he's just, I think he goes out there, probably breaks this dude in half, maybe the first round, maybe it takes till the second. But I'm thinking submission. He's going to take him down. You know, that's really where Benoit's base is. But I think the reckless striking is what helps him set up the grappling. So, yeah, I mean, I think Benoit just destroys this guy. But you don't need us to tell you that. You know, we opened at minus 1,500. This was never meant to be a fair fight. But just so everybody knows, an important piece of information here is that Kyle was supposed to fight May 9th against Michael Dufort, you know, a good Canadian fighter in BTC. So he was scheduled to fight Friday. So even though he's taking this fight on less than a week's notice, he's in training camp. He's peaking now. He's ready to go. It's just that he was going to fight Michael Dufort, who's a solid fighter, and now he's fighting Benoit Saint-Denis, and that's going to be a problem for him.
Yeah, Eric heard that Saint-Denis declined a short notice fight with Gamrot due to the style clash. Honestly, man, he did. He absolutely denied that fight. And I get it, okay? I don't think Gamrot does much for you these days. He's the toughest out in the division because he's so hard to look good against. You can win a fight against Mateusz Gamrot, and people are still sick of your shit by the time it's over because he's just so tough to handle. On short notice, that's not a guy you take lightly. You need a camp to handle a guy like Gamrot. I think Benoit Saint-Denis could beat Gamrot, but he would need a full camp to do it. So I completely understand and respect why he didn't take that particular opportunity. But it does seem like he did decline that fight.
It's a good move because he was training to fight Joel Alvarez, who's never shot a takedown in his entire career. And then now you want to give him Gamrot on less than a week's notice. If that were me, I'd be like, fuck that.
Longest rangiest kicker in the entire division.
Yeah. I mean, the guy's a crotch sniffer. He's going to shoot 40 takedowns and try to hold you down. And I mean, like, there's no reason he should take that fight when he was training.
Benoit hasn't wrestled in 2 months.
Yeah, he doesn't have to learn how to stop a takedown against Alvarez. So Yeah, that was, the worst possible short notice replacement for him. And he did the smart thing. He's going to get an easy win here. He's going to go home with a win check, and he's going to be able to get the good fight next time. Hopefully,
honestly,
Alvarez
I hope he
ready.
calls him out. That would be a baller move. If Benoit Saint-Denis smashes this guy in the first round and then goes, "Hey, Gamrot," like if he gets on the microphone and calls out Mateos Gamrot for the next fight, give him a camp, book it. That's the move. So I hope he does that. But yeah, it's BSD
Agreed.
all day. Let's not waste any time. Fight up. You've got a women's delight here. Alexa Grasso takes on Natália Silva. Both women who have earned the moniker of my girl. This one kills me, Wheezy. This one kills me. Alexa Grasso was one of my favorites. You guys know I've just got this deep love for these Mexican fighters that have come in and taken over the UFC the last couple of years. Grasso, I was on the Grasso train against Shevchenko. And honestly, Wheezy, I think something really weird has happened with Alexa Grasso because she went from being the youngest, hungriest fighter in this division, just taking heads and taking names, dethroning the queen. They talk about when a fighter gets the UFC belt, they become 5% better. When you become champion, there's something inside you that just comes out and you're a new person and you've got new confidence. And that didn't happen with Alexa Grasso. In the rematch with Valentina Shevchenko, it was a very, very tough fight. And it was close. And I'll be honest with you, Easy. I had a lot of money riding on Alexa Grasso to defend, to secure, to become undeniable in this weight class, to become undisputed as the champion, be the next wave, the next generation. That's what I thought was going to happen. And I scored that fight for Valentina Shevchenko. And it was the softest 10-8 round scorecard you have ever seen that forced that fight to be a draw. Valentina had every right to be suspicious that on Noche UFC, they made sure that the Queen of Noche kept the belt, right? Like that was sus. And I had money on Grasso. So if that tells you anything. But she didn't look any better, Wheezy. She didn't look any different. She had the same plotting boxing style. She had the same opportunistic jiu-jitsu, and there were moments where she flashed, where she caught something and got on top and tried to get to work right away. But when you go back and you rewatch that first night, that first fight, it was a perfect moment of game playing. They identified a hole in Shevchenko's game. They capitalized on that hole, and she got a finish, and it was spectacular. But we've now seen back-to-back 25-minute fights where that opportunity never arose ever again. And she lost those two fights. So they found the hole in the game. They found the weakness. But when that hole got patched, Shevchenko was the better fighter. And frankly, Wheezy, in the third fight, in the rubber match, again, I bet on Grasso. And she looked rinsed. She got taken down at will. Shevchenko just sat on top of her and said, "Girl, you're doing nothing in this fight." It wasn't even competitive. And then she's done interviews where she talks about like the weight of the belt and all that kind of stuff. And Wheezy, I am worried that Grasso peaked early. I'm worried that she hit her peak. She climbed her Mount Everest and she's just done. I'm concerned. Now, maybe she comes down off this, gets a step down in competition, and we see the old Alexa Grasso back. But after seeing what I saw in her last couple of fights, again, I know it was against Shevchenko. I completely respect and understand it was against the GOAT of this weight class. I just can't see her fishing for triangles and arm bars off of her for 20 minutes without a care in the world, without going, this is a chick I probably need to not have my money on. She does not seem like the same fighter to me. Now, Natália Silva, she's been my girl since she's gotten to the UFC. She's 28 years old, and she's on an absolute tear. The days of fading Jasmine Jasudavicius at plus 200 are long gone, Wheezy, both because my opinion of Jazz has changed and because Natália Silva is never going to have that kind of a number next to her name ever again. People realize just how good this chick is in a hurry, and she is a tactician. She moves around that cage with amazing fluid footwork. She glides. She sets up beautiful counters. When you look to come back and swing at her, she's nowhere to be found. She's gone. She's out of there. You can't touch her. I think this sets up really well for her because it's going to be the kicks of Silva the sticking and the moving, the footwork of Silva versus the plodding forward pressure boxing of Grasso. And I think Grasso's going to be in a spot similar to Jéssica Andrade in the last fight, where she just isn't going to be able to find her, Wheezy. If Grasso gets this fight to the ground, there's always that opportunity for a finish. She is deadly. The ground and pound is good. The submission is opportunistic. It's all there. But with the 92% takedown defense rating of Silva, I'm not sure we're going to see a whole lot of grappling in this fight. And Grasso is more than willing to engage you where you're strongest. We've seen that before. She's going to march forward and look to trade and counter, and she's not going to be in range. I think Silva's going to do what Silva does, and this is going to be a clear 29-28 decision win for her. Hell, it might even be a 30-27, Wheezy. I've got her parlayed up. The price tag might be just a little bit wide. It's not going to be the type of dominating fight that I think Jazz is going to have earlier on the card, but I think we're going to see the rise of Natália Silva this weekend, and I like her to win this fight.
Yeah, you're saying that you're worried that Grasso might not have it anymore. I'm kind of worried that maybe she never had it to begin with. You know, when you look at the win streak that got her to the belt, there's some questions in there. There's a win against Maycee Barber. That was a great win.
That's fair.
But I'm pretty sure that was like a Maycee Barber that had just come back from the surgery that she had after the Modafferi fight. If I'm not mistaken, didn't she like tear up her knee or something like that?
That was, I think, her first fight back after blowing her knee out. Yeah.
Yeah, and Grasso, the win that got her the title shot was a win over Vivi Araujo. Right? That's not the kind of win that should be getting you a title shot. And when she won the title, what happened? She's losing the fight for 3 rounds, and then Valentina tries some spinning shit. She gets her back taken, and the fight's over. You know, and then she probably loses the
she
next
choked
one.
out Jojo Calderwood. Oh yeah, no, sorry, Jojo then Vivi. You're right. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Jojo, and even before the Maycee Barber fight, I think her win was Jeong Kim. You know, so It was. You know, I'm not exactly sure if she's this elite Valentina Shevchenko-esque fighter, right? And I'm thinking that Natália Silva is, though. Look, Natália Silva's had an insanely difficult strength of schedule for somebody that's only got 6 UFC fights. If you're making your debut against Jasmine Jasudavicius and destroying her, that is announcing you're announcing your arrival to this weight class, and people take notice. Then she goes out there and she beats Teresa Bleda. That was an extremely difficult fight. Teresa Bleda is two weight classes bigger than everybody in the flyweight division. She's only 21 years old, and we're going to be hearing her name. She is very fucking good. And Teresa tried like hell to grapple the fuck out of Natália, and Natália didn't let her. Then she goes out and she beats Victoria. She beats Victoria Leonardo. Who cares? But then, you know, Andrea Lee's got 14 UFC fights. She went out there and destroyed her. Then she goes out there and she beats Araujo. Then she goes out there and she beats Jéssica Andrade. This girl's got 66% distance striking defense. She lands more than 2 distance strikes for every one that she absorbs while she's at distance striking range. She's constantly moving laterally. She has power in her strikes. She's got elite takedown defense, and she's so difficult to find. I don't know how Alexa's winning this fight. I never thought her striking was that good. She's never knocked out anybody at the UFC level. 13 fights. We talk about Alexa Grasso's boxing. Like, you put her numbers next to fucking Silva's and they look like shit. Silva's landing 6.8. Grasso lands 5.3. Grasso absorbs 4.9. Silva only absorbs 3.1, dude. 66% defense for Silva, 61% for Grasso. 46% accuracy at distance for Silva, only 38% accuracy for Grasso. More power, just as reliable of a chin, and almost impossible to take down and control on the mat.
Yeah, no, completely agree with you, Weezy. And like I said, I you know what? I think we all got kind of collectively hypnotized by Alexa Grasso. That custom belt that they gave her and bum ass Yair Rodriguez, we all got sparkles in our eyes over that. And I think the I think it's like the Wizard of Oz, man. Like the curtain's getting pulled back. We're seeing what's really there right now. And shout out Streamline Gaming says, don't forget Macy Barber was about to knock out Grasso at the end of that fight before she ran out of time. And that's a valid point. That is a very, very good point. Shout out my guy VB in the chat. Good to see you here, buddy. Thank you for showing up and talking a couple of fights here with us. So both Wheezy and I on the Silva side of things. I do have Silva parlayed up, and let's get to the next fight. Guys, we have got Jose Aldo taking on Aiemann Zahabi. Wheezy, one of those fights I just never thought I would see. I never in my life thought these two names would end up next to each other. And I especially never thought in my life that these two names would end up being competitive. Now, guys, this is the bantamweight division, and I am your bantamweight king. But I need to let you know something. I am not the foremost expert for this particular matchup. Jose Aldo was my dog of the week in his last fight, and now Mario Bautista is public enemy number one because he had the most boring game plan of all time, and the judges rewarded him for that somehow, robbing all of us of piles of money when Jose went out there and did exactly what he needed to do to win that fight as a very, very small underdog. And my ass still burns a little bit from losing that split decision, Wheezy. That was a bad, bad night. And Aiemann Zahabi is a guy who I have regularly lit my money on fire against because I've been betting against this guy. I keep thinking that he's just going to get outed as being a guy that doesn't belong at this level. And somehow, some way, he is fighting the best MMA of his life at 37 years old. Wheezy, it makes no sense. It is unconscionable what this man is doing. I don't think he was ever all that great. And all of a sudden, he's looking like an absolute stud, and he's developing late in his career. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. And so because of all of that, you guys, I've gone ahead and I've found the true expert for this fight. As your bantamweight king, I will nominate somebody to step in and take care of this for me so that you get the best information possible. Quick shout out, our guy, Liam.
Yo, what's going on, folks? My name is Liam, and I pick fights. I'm up about 13 units betting on Aiemann Zahabi fights, so I had to come give a quick breakdown for my guy Clint on this show. And I will also say, I'm a big Jose Aldo fan. I'm up units on Jose Aldo long term. So two guys that I really like and respect. But I'll tell you what, there's one thing Aiemann Zahabi has done better than just about anybody recently in this bantamweight division, and that is produce as an underdog. The guy has gone out there and against, whether it's Ricky Turcios at plus 200, he's producing. Whether it's Javid Basharat at plus 600, he's producing. And last time out, guys, he was fighting his first top 15 opponent. Finally, he gets some respect. He's a favorite going into the contest. I said, I'm not going to lay the chalk, but I believe he's correctly favored in that fight. Went out there and did what Jose Aldo did, win a unanimous decision clearly against Pedro Munoz. I believe both these fighters are talented. One man is not being given the credit and respect. It's Aiemann Zahabi plus 190. Click it.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. I am doing nothing but bite down and tail my boy Liam Picks fights here in this spot because he's made more money on Aiemann Zahabi than anybody I know. And frankly, Wheezy, the one thing that I will say is I think we are finally seeing the King of Rio look old. He's always had a little bit of cardio concerns. That's always been a thing, is if you make him work, he'll get tired late in fights. But man, now he's got to conserve himself in round two. It used to be title fights. I remember cashing round 4 TKO slips with Max Holloway because I knew the secret to Jose Aldo was chipping away at that gas tank. But now he's got to slow himself down at the end of round ones to make sure he can still go in round 3. If you're losing your cardio in 15-minute fights, if you're not throwing those leg kicks like you used to and you can't back your opponents off, that's the end of the run. One of these guys looks old. And like I said, the other one looks like he's fighting the best of his entire career now. So at home in Canada, I think we see a similar situation to Jéssica Andrade. The UFC has shipped a couple of Brazilians up north to die this weekend, so the hometown crowd can cheer about something. Aiemann Zahabi is now plus 180-ish. And I think that number is down from where it was. I'm sure that's thanks to Liam and his boys getting out there and hammering this number. So the plus 190s and the plus 200s are all gone. Dog or pass, in my opinion, Wheezy. I'm going to lean on Liam's expertise here. And against my better judgment, I'll back Aiemann Zahabi.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely the side. I agree with Liam here because I like backing defensively elite fighters, and Aiemann Zahabi is defensively elite. He's got a 72% distance striking defense. He lands as many distance strikes as he absorbs, but he only throws 9.1 and his opponents throw 15. So he's just a guy that's really hard to find at range. He's constantly countering, so it slows down the offense of his opponents. And they kind of tricked us here. They snuck a boxing fight on an MMA card here because neither one of these guys has ever completed a takedown in their entire UFC history. So yeah, these guys are going to box, and both of these guys are low volume. Both of these guys are about the same age. Aimann's about 1 year younger, but I just see Aiemann being a little bit more of a counter striker, being a little bit more defensively responsible, and having just way less miles on the engine. Now the other side of that, of course, is that when you look at the distance striking metrics for both of these guys, they're very similar, Clint. But the difference is that Jose Aldo is accumulating those statistics against the champions of the division, and Aiemann Zahabi is accumulating those statistics against Draco Rodriguez, Ricky Tercios, Aori Quilang, Javid Basharat, Pedro Munoz. So while I think that this is about as close to 50-50 as it gets, and I don't really understand the line here. I don't understand, where is Aldo going to look minus 200 in the year 2025? Because he's not going to grapple here. He's not going to grapple. And I mean, he's going to go out there and he's going to hit Aiemann Zahabi. He's going to all of a sudden start landing a bunch of strikes. I don't know, man. I think this is a coin flip. I have no idea who's going to win this fight. But I think it definitely, like Sammy just said, over 1.5, over 2.5 fight goes. This one's probably going the full 15 minutes, but it's juice to the tits.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that you're going to have to eat some serious chalk on that 1.5. The over 2.5 is minus 360. So
yeah,
the bookies are onto it. They do think it's going the distance. And hey, we just saw what happens when Aldo goes the distance these days. There's no respect for the legend. They robbed him against Bautista. We're in Canada, baby. If there was ever a spot for hometown cooking, this would be it. If this is a low volume, close fight, one side is going to get the cheers. I think we got to take the plus 180, man. It might be a close fight, and maybe this one ends up in the trash can. But at the end of the day, Jose Aldo is looking his age, where Aiemann Zahabi is on a 5-fight win streak. Yes, I see what you guys are saying in the chat. This is a step down in competition for Jose Aldo. That's absolutely true. But the age cliff is still the biggest concern for me, not necessarily the level of competition. Also, it looks like Zahabi has called in the big guns, and George St. Pierre himself is helping him prepare for this fight. So if Mario Bautista can just push you up against the fence and lean on you for 10 minutes and get a decision, when you got GSP in your corner, yeah, Zahabi might be able to do something similar. So not great. Hate to bet against the legend. Would love to see the King of Rio run off and do it one more time, but I think he's much closer to laying down the gloves than not.
God, if Aiemann Zahabi had ever shot a takedown in his goddamn life, I might be willing to take him here if he's got George St. Pierre in his corner. But I think George would actually have to explain what takedown means to him. So I don't think that that's going to happen.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you. I don't necessarily think he's wrestling, but like I said, if all you got to do is walk this guy's back to the cage, I could see that happening for minutes of this fight.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah. All right, guys. Let's get into the last couple of fights here. Co-main event of the evening. Valentina Bullet Shevchenko. She takes on Manon Fiorot, the beast herself. And Wheezy, this seems like a spot where it's just fate. Every single person I know has decided it's over. It's written. It's said. It's done. Manon Fiorot was brought to the UFC to dethrone Valentina Shevchenko and take the title from her. It's been a long, long time since we have seen Valentina Shevchenko be an underdog, but here we are. She is plus 125. Manon Fiorot is a minus 150 favorite in this spot. And I really came in convicted. I thought for sure I was going to be on the Manon Fiorot side here, Wheezy. I really was like, okay, like that's it. It's done. She's taken over. And then I ran the tape, which is so important. That's why you guys have got to watch the footage. And that's why we do the show for you. We handle that and we let you know what we found out so you can make some good bets using this information. We've got a 35-year-old fighter who's new to the MMA game, who's a world-class kickboxer, taking on a 37-year-old GOAT, one of the best to ever do it in the sport. And Manon Fiorot has a ridiculous 94% takedown defense rating, Wheezy, and that's been absolutely phenomenal. But then you go back and you look at the run she's been on in the UFC. Mayra Bueno Silva, who another one of these weirdo grapplers that doesn't shoot takedowns. Jennifer Maya, somebody who also is a black belt but never uses her wrestling. Caitlin Chukagian's never heard of a takedown. Rose Namajunas, not much of a takedown threat in 2025 either. And then she fought Erin Blanchfield. And that's kind of the big one, is I thought, you know what? That's the one that really stands out. But Blanchfield is 26 years old, needs a whole lot of seasoning, but is probably a future champion of this weight class. And she's a little small, Wheezy. She looked like a whole weight class below Manon Fiorot when they closed that cage door that night that they fought. But what I noticed is over and over and over again, Blanchfield was able to close the distance and crash into Manon Fiorot using her boxing. And she clinched up with her time and time and time again. She was able to get to the body lock. She was able to get to the upper body. And she was just too small to do anything about it. Now, I got to give Manon Fiorot credit for the defense that she showed in that spot. But from what I saw in Valentina Shevchenko's last two fights against Alexa Grasso, Easy, if you give her the ability to get to your body, if she gets to the clinch, you're going for a ride. I don't think there's anybody in this weight class built like Valentina Shevchenko. She is so ridiculously strong, and she is so insanely technical. I just think we're completely different ballparks going from Valentina Shevchenko to having beaten 26-year-old Erin Blanchfield. It's a different ball game. With the record, the accolades, the only fighter in UFC history to fill the diamond run, the rubies on her UFC belt for title defenses, how are we not simply taking the plus money on Valentina Shevchenko? Wheezy, I think this is a dog or pass fight. If you've been ride or die with Manon Fiorot and you've cashed 3, 4, 5 tickets in a row, and this is your big moment and you're free rolling, never get off a train while it's still moving. I don't have any problems with that. But acting like she's justifiably this big of a favorite against the GOAT, the undeniable GOAT of this weight class, I just don't see it. I still think there's weaknesses. I still think there's holes in her game. And I think Shevchenko is the one person in this weight class that actually can kickbox with this chick to open up opportunities for the grappling where she would have a significant advantage. It's dog or pass for me. I don't know that I'm going to bet this fight, Wheezy. Again, I've got so much action on this card. I've got spots I really like. I felt so stupid for not taking the easy win with Valentina Shevchenko in the last fight against Grasso because we saw that the grappling was there. We saw the game plan was there. We saw that Grasso didn't have an answer for it. I convinced myself that Grasso had patched up that hole and would have a new game plan for it, and she didn't. This looks like a spot you could just roll right back and take the plus money on the champ. And it sounds so easy, but everyone's decided that Manon Fiorot is the chosen one. I'm not buying it. I'm going to say Valentina Shevchenko defends the title and ruins everybody's night. Manon Fiorot finds out what a real MMA fight is.
Yeah, this is going to be a very exciting fight. I'm looking forward to it because two very good defensive fighters. Manon Fiorot absorbs more strikes than Valentina does, but she is so uncompromising with fighting her style of fight. One of the things I love about Manon Fiorot's stats is that she spends 7/8 of her UFC octagon time is spent at distance striking range. And we know how good Manon is there. She does a phenomenal job of maintaining range with her kicks. She uses those side kicks, which are very difficult to counter, very difficult to close distance against. And she just scores points. She stuffs takedowns at a very high clip. Even you could go back to the one fight that Manon Fiorot lost in her career, and it was her professional debut. It was not at 125 pounds. It was fought at 139-pound catch weight. against Leah McCourt, who's a very good fighter and a very high-level grappler. And you go back to that fight and you watch Manon Fiorot fighting 15 pounds above her natural weight class, and you see her getting taken down in every round, and you see Leah McCourt unable to do anything on top, and you see Manon work back to her feet every single time and land kicks and outstrike her. Horrible decision in that fight, by the way. Manon cleanly won that fight up 15 pounds. So that was a fight that I was really glad that I watched, because I was hearing hype on this woman. And when I saw that fight, I said, oh, people are going to be very enamored with her striking, but I don't think they realize how good of a grappler she is. Manon Fiorot is an excellent grappler. One of the things that she'll do is she'll go out there and take down fighters that you don't expect her to take down. Her defensive grappling, her anti-grappling are phenomenal. So I'm really interested to see how the striking exchanges play out, because Valentina is so good there, right? She's a very low volume striker for the division, but she lands 4.1 distance strikes per minute spent at distance and only absorbs 2.7. I mean, the divisional average is 5.5, Clint. So Valentina Shevchenko is getting hit about at half the rate the division does at distance striking range. So you got Manon, who's hard to close distance against, but you got Valentina, who's extremely difficult to hit. And I'm interested to see, what I really like about Valentina is the timing that she has on her takedown entries. It's always perfect. You know, she'll get you when you're throwing a kick. And that's something that I think that Valentina is going to be able to potentially take advantage of, because Manon is throwing kicks. So if she can catch kicks, that could potentially upset the balance enough of Fiorot where Valentina could get into top position and win some minutes with her top control and ground and pound. But it's going to be difficult. These ladies fight in different styles. Valentina is a very counter-heavy fighter. Manon prefers to go first and use her kicks to maintain range and outpoint you. So Manon is going to have to worry about trying to use those kicks to score points, because they might get caught. And Valentina is going to have to be very, very careful about not being too counter-heavy, because then she might let this fight pass her by while Manon is on the outside scoring points. I really don't know who's going to win this fight, dude. I haven't finished my research yet. But one of the fights that I think is going to be absolutely crucial to watch is how Rose Namajunas kept that fight so close. How did a strawweight who was undersized and outgunned in the distance striking exchanges keep that fight against Manon Fiorot so close? That's one I have to go back and rewatch, because if I feel like Valentina has the same style that could give Manon problems like Rose gave Manon, because that's really the only fight of her career that's been close yet. The Chukagian fight was kind of close, but I still thought Manon was landing more and landing the heavier shots there. If Valentina can have the same striking success that Rose had, I think that there's going to be some grappling upside on the Valentina side, and she probably would be the side at plus money. But Valentina spends 55% of her UFC octagon time at distance striking range. Manon, 87%. That's where this fight's going to be won and lost. It's going to be in that number. What percentage of this fight takes place in the clinch and takes place on the mat, where we probably are going to assume that Valentina will be more likely to win minutes. And if she's able to do that, the striking exchanges are going to be close enough that I think Valentina gets her hand raised here. But if she's unable to close the distance, if she waits too much for the counters, I think that Manon's going to outpoint her on the way to a decision. This is a great fight, high-level fight, but I really don't know who's going to win it, dude.
Yeah, extremely high-level fight, Wheezy, and those end up being fascinating to us hardcores. It might be a little boring for the casuals, but I can't wait to see how this fight plays out, the strategies these two women bring into the cage with them, and then ultimately who wins. It is a dog or pass situation for me, just because I know exactly what I'm getting in the champion. And Manon Fiorot still has some serious questions about her. Maybe she answers those questions against the greatest fighter this weight class has ever seen on Saturday. but I'm not going to lay chalk to find out if that's the case or not. So for me, it can only be the dog side of things. I respect everybody who believes it's Manon Fiorot's time, and I'm just going to probably stay away from this one. I'll pick Shevchenko to get her belt back, retain, get another ruby, but I don't have a strong enough opinion to put my hard-earned money on it.
Got it.
All right, guys. It is main event time. Cannot wait for this one. We have got Jack Della Maddalena challenging against Belal. Remember the name Muhammad, public enemy number one. Absolutely everybody cannot stand my boy Belal, and he is speed running his way to GOAT status in this weight class. You guys just wait. Belal cleaned out this weight class while the champion fought Colby and a couple of lightweights a couple of extra times. This man's been the champion for way longer than anybody cared to admit he was the best fighter in the weight class. I can't wait to watch him come out here and do the damn thing for this fight. So we know the X's and O's for this fight, Weezy. This is not a hard fight to break down. Belal is a pure grappler. He trains with guys like Khabib, and he gets touched up by that guy and trained and told what to do by Islam Makhachev. And so he learned from the best. And then he came in here and he's got iron durability. He's got insane levels of cardio. His heart cannot be questioned. And his boxing is spectacular. I mean, I know it's a joke that he's got Canelo level boxing and he's talking about getting in there and boxing with Jack Della. He actually is extremely serviceable on the feet, but his boxing is all to set up his takedowns. Don't believe him for a second when he says he's going to go out there and box Jack Della. He will for moments. There will be moments in this fight where he stands and he boxes with Jack Della because that's how he sets up his grappling. It'll happen. But it's not going to be the entire game plan. It's not going to be the whole night. He's not going to TKO Jack Della with a big left hook. It ain't happening. Jack Della Maddalena, 28 years old. He's had a really solid UFC run, but it's not without having some issues, Wheezy. You know, his last 3 fights, Gilbert Burns, he was getting his ass whooped for basically 13, 14 minutes of that fight. He turned the tables at the last second on that one. 2 splits back-to-back with Kevin Holland and Basil Hafez, guys who couldn't sniff the top end of this weight class at the end. I like Jack Della. And Jack's a guy that I've said, Wheezy, I think is going to wear UFC gold one day. I just think this is too much too soon. I don't think he's ready for this challenge at this point in his career. He's getting thrown in here on relatively short notice. I want to say there was like a rebooking issue or something like that took place with this fight where they ended up, it was the Shavkat. Shavkat was supposed to be taking this fight, and then they called up Jack Della instead. So it wasn't his time yet, you guys, but he's here because we need a body, and the division's got to keep moving. So I think this opportunity has come too early. When he fought Gilbert Burns, Wheezy, I told everybody he's going to be losing this fight up until he doesn't. Gilbert Burns is a 155 moved up and out at 170, one of my favorite fighters in this weight class. Absolutely love the guy. But realistically, he's a jiu-jitsu guy who learned how to wrestle. He's older. He's smaller. He's got some cardio and durability issues at this point in his career. I knew that he was going to look like a favorite, but Jack, being the younger guy that refused to quit on himself, eventually would find the button. Gilbert Burns almost won that fight. Like, I was almost wrong about that prediction. It took a Hail Mary effort with a minute left on the clock for Jack to find the perfect knee. I mean, it was Leon Edwards-esque, Wheezy, where he shouldn't have been on the feet with the opportunity to throw that knee 9 times out of 10. But he did, and he landed it. And here we are with him getting a title shot because of it. We saw what happened with Leon Edwards. You got the fluke win to get the belt. Congratulations. Got your ass whooped after that by real fighters. I think the same thing's going to happen here. I love Jack Della's boxing. I love his body work. He's got some sneaky submission opportunities when he goes for them, but he's going to get taken down by Belal. And if you're getting taken down by exhausted, broken, battered, and hurt Gilbert Burns in round 3, what do you think Belal's going to do to this guy? Like, there's night and day differences between the cardio durability and wrestling abilities of Belal and Gilbert Burns. Belal's never going to stop, and he's not going to give you the opportunities to land those shots that you landed on Burns. And on top of that, Belal and Jack are the same size. Gilbert Burns is a decent bit smaller than Jack Della Maddalena. He was getting worn out, pushing all that body around, right? That's not going to happen with Belal. Belal is going to maul this man, Wheezy. It's still Belal's time. He's working his way towards being the number 2 GOAT of this weight class right behind GSP. You guys don't believe it yet, but it's coming. So I've got Belal parlayed up. I want to say he actually gets a finish here deep in the championship rounds of this fight. I respect Jack Della Maddalena too much to actually pull the trigger on that. I could see like a late TKO once Jack is just completely exhausted and out of gas. But the reality is I think Belal does what Belal does. And this is a 25-minute working on the mat. And Jack just doesn't have an answer for it. So I got Belal and still, Wheezy.
Well, let's talk about a couple narrative things here. And the narratives are things that I absolutely hate to talk about. If I'm talking about narratives, it usually means I'm not going to bet on the fight because I prefer to make bets based off of statistics, tape study, and trends, right? Belal Muhammad has not fought in 9 months. Jack Della has not fought in a year and 2 months. Okay, so we got both guys on kind of long layoffs coming into this fight. Belal Muhammad, if you listen to him, if you listen to the words that are coming out of his mouth right now, he's saying he's going to shoot 0 takedowns. He's saying he's going to put the Canelo hands on Jack Della Maddalena. He's going to shoot 0 takedowns, and he's going to win this fight with his boxing. That's terrifying to hear for a few different reasons. It's not that Belal Muhammad is that much worse of a striker than Jack Della Maddalena. I think that the striking exchanges would be close. But there are some statistics that matter, okay? Here's the first statistic. Belal Muhammad, over 19 UFC fights, 19 of them, 282.6 minutes in the UFC octagon, has landed a grand total of 0 knockdowns. 0. He's absorbed 6. Okay? So Belal has to win minutes. If this is going to be a boxing match on the feet, he's going to have to win minutes, not moments, but minutes, against a guy who's 8 years younger than him, against a guy who lands 1.8 more distance strikes per minute than him, a guy who throws more volume than him, a guy who's 10% more accurate at distance striking range than Belal Muhammad, and a guy who is 10% more defensively responsible at distance striking range than Belal Muhammad. Add on top of that Jack Della Maddalena has landed 6 knockdowns in 7 UFC fights and absorbed 0. Okay? So I think I just made a pretty good case for if this fight stays standing, there's no way that Belal Muhammad's going to look minus 150, minus 175, minus 200. When have we ever seen Belal Muhammad go out there and dominate striking exchanges of a fight? The Gilbert Burns fight, maybe, but Gilbert Burns blew out his shoulder in the first round of that fight. So I wasn't that impressed by that performance. Sean Brady, he looked great in the Sean Brady fight. Crazy pressure, broke him, finished him. Great stuff there. But, he beat Luque by taking him down. He beat Stephen Thompson by taking him down. He beat Leon Edwards by taking him down. When you're facing strikers of that quality, Luque, Thompson, Edwards, guys that are on Jack Della Maddalena's level, he needs to grapple. Here's the other thing. Belal is saying, I'm going to shoot 0 takedowns. The people around him are telling me the exact same fucking thing. They're like, he's going to shoot 0 takedowns. He's going to outbox him. He's going to prove a point. Then we've got another thing in here. A big problem if you're on that Belal side. He had to pull out of a fight in December against Shavkat Rakhmonov with a very bad toe infection. A toe infection that was so bad that he had to go to the hospital. And he was there for a while. Then there was rehab for that toe injury. So now I've got to ask myself, is the game plan for Muhammad to wrestle? Or maybe even worse, can he wrestle? What if that toe is compromised? These are the things that are keeping me off Belal Muhammad. Because if this is a fight with no narrative issues whatsoever, and you just tell me, Wheezy, Go cap this fight. Go watch the tape on Jack Della. Go watch the recent tape on Belal Muhammad, and you tell me how this fight is going to take place. Here's what I say happens. Belal pressures a lot on the feet and keeps the distance striking exchanges close. He slows the output of Jack Della Maddalena's offense because of the threat of the takedowns and because of the pressure that Belal brings. And he's going to mix in the takedowns. He's going to make Jack work. Jack's never seen a fourth round in his career, so Belal's going to be able to put a pace on him, mix the martial arts, mix in the wrestling in order to win the close rounds and get his hand raised. Dude, if he can't wrestle, Jack Della Maddalena at plus money is the bet of the century, because even if Belal wins the minutes, eventually Jack's going to land a liver shot. Eventually, that power and durability differential that exists between these two guys that are 8 years apart and at different parts in their career right now, it's going to happen. Jack's going to land a big shot. Belal Muhammad is not built to win 5-round boxing matches in championship fights at this level. It's never been his game. So we got to ask ourselves, is this dude bullshitting us? Because Belal Muhammad's maybe one of the smartest fighters to ever set foot in the UFC cage. This guy's got a law degree from the University of Illinois. This guy has got an 18-2 record to the decision, Clint. Imagine that. 20 decisions. He's winning 90% of them. You think you win 18 decisions at the level that Belal's been fighting, if your fight IQ isn't incredible, if your conditioning isn't incredible, if you don't know when to make what moves, if you don't know how to read what your opponent's trying to do, if you don't know how to put your opponent into positions where they're not comfortable, you're never, ever sniffing an 18-2 record to the decision. So we got to ask ourselves, is Belal going to wrestle? If not, man, it's a big bet on Jack, in my opinion. I know that Belal's got really good striking, but Jack Della Maddalena has got way more power, way more durability. He's faster than Belal. He puts together better combinations than Belal, and his body work is absolutely nasty. So I'm picking Belal Muhammad to win by decision, because I try not to listen to noise. And when I had to figure out who I was going to pick to win this fight, Clint, I said to myself, you know what? You don't make picks based off of narratives. You make picks based off of what you see on tape, and you make picks based on the statistics and the trends. And those trends and those tape study and those statistics tell me that Belal can mix the martial arts better than Jack can, and will have the better skill set to win minutes and get his hand raised by decision in this fight. But if he's out there not shooting takedowns, your money's going to be dead on arrival, in my opinion.
Okay. All right. Well, Weezy, I will tell you one thing. I trust Belal Muhammad.
Well, I do
for me,
too.
That's all it comes down to.
Yeah.
If Belal is playing a game and he comes out and wrestles, I'm going to feel real good.
Yeah.
But if Belal legitimately believes that he's a better boxer than Jack Della, and we just have never seen it, I trust him. He's done nothing but cash tickets for me. Mm-hmm. If him and his team behind closed doors say, you know what, we got this. Okay. I've trusted him with my money to this point, and all he's ever done is reward me. And real quick, Weezy, if we want to talk about narratives, Belal is doing this training during Ramadan. You know, guys, Muslim fighters do not fight during Ramadan. Or if they do,
Dagestani fighters don't fight during Ramadan.
Dagestani fighters
once a year. Enough. If they stub a toe, they're going to take 9 months off.
Exactly.
They will never take a short notice fight. They will never take a fight there where they're not 100%. They'll use Ramadan as an excuse. Real Muslims who go out there and fight for a living, they'll eat before sundown. They'll kick your fucking ass whether it's Ramadan or not. So yeah, I got to make that point. You got to separate the Dagestanis from the rest of them.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough. But he's made a big point. You watch some of his like vlogs and his training footage and stuff like that. He's made a big point about how he's still keeping to Ramadan. He's still honoring Ramadan, and he is training for a championship fight with no water until sundown. And he's talking about how that's putting him on a different level mentally, which frankly, because I can't imagine, going through a full-on training camp without water and not being able to drink for another, 6 hours after your training camp is over. The guy is mentally unshakable. And on top of that, there's an absolute atrocity going on with his people right now. Again, you guys know I don't do politics. We're not getting into the whole Gaza thing. But this man literally has a country on his shoulders right now. Okay. There's one thing and one thing only in his mind, and that's bringing happiness in whatever way he can to his people. And we've talked about how tragedy in fighters' lives can go one of two ways. You know, this past weekend, I actually bumped into Drakkar Klose. Great guy. Awesome dude. We talked a little bit about his fight with Alvarez. You know, he had I think it was his cousin or a brother that passed away right before that fight. Looked like a totally different person in the cage. Yeah, and then you get other people. Damon Jackson is the best, most recent example I can think of that came out and absolutely took someone's head off because he was feeling pain. People react in different ways. Belal is a bright lights fighter. When the spotlight is on, that man stands up and puts his sunglasses on and puts on a show. The bully is coming out here this weekend, and he said to his teammate, his beloved friend Islam Makhachev, book your fight. I am not leaving Canada without the belt. And he's going to come out here with an entire country that is torn by war and being ravaged right now, and he is going to fight for those people. Not one person. He's going to put an entire country on his back. Again, I trust Belal Muhammad. So if there was ever a question of heart, if there was ever a question of motivation, there's never been a question with game planning or skill.
No.
Everything points to Belal for me. Everyone wants to bet against the guy because they can't stand him. They think he's boring. Yeah, some people are racist. Whatever the case may be. Like none of those things have any effect on reality, in my opinion. Belal's the fucking man. And we've been printing money going to war with him. I'm doing it again on Saturday, Wheezy. That's all it comes down to.
Yeah, I don't hate it, man. I mean, obviously, I don't have any bets on this fight. I've finished researching it, and I'm kind of just being pulled in a couple of different directions. Muhammad's been an underdog in his last 5 fights, and he's cashed as an underdog all 5 times. Maddalena's been a favorite in each of his last 5 fights, and he's covered as a favorite in each of those fights. And now Maddalena's the underdog for the first time since he's been in the UFC, and Belal is the favorite since the first time since he fought Damian Maia back in like 2021 or something. So it's weird, you know, Belal's not used to being a favorite. Yeah, you know, and Maddalena's not used to being an underdog. It's like the lines have flipped. There's narrative issues here. You know, is Belal going to wrestle or not? You know, these guys are both incredibly hot fighters with positive career trajectories. It's one of the best fights of the entire year to break down as a capper, because there's so many relevant angles to this fight, and it's just a fascinating main event between 2 phenomenal welterweights. Can't wait for it, man.
I can't wait, Wheezy. I can't wait. This pay-per-view card is going to be awesome, you guys. The undercard is filled with absolute bangers. It's going to be a blood sport right up until the main card. And then it's a hardcore's delight. There might be a few too many decisions on this main card, but we're going to love every second of it because it's going to be like watching high-level chess players think around each other and figure it out. And that's what we're here for. I think there's some money-making opportunities this weekend, Wheezy. I've got tons of action locked in and ready to go. Let me just go over that for you guys one more time because I know we rolled through and I said parlay piece a few times, but I didn't say exactly what the plays were. I have Bekzat parlayed with Jasmine Jasudavicius at plus 103 for 3 units. I have Natália Silva, and she is parlayed with Belal Muhammad. That is plus 117 for 3 units. I have Yeong Cutelaba minus 108. That is 2.16 units to win 2 exactly. And then our dog of the week is Charles Radtke, Chuck Buffalo, plus 200 for 3 units. I am going to be tailing my boy Liam picks fights, and I will be adding Aiemann Zahabi. I see plus 180s out there right now. I'm not sure what the bet sizing is going to be on that quite yet, but I will be having a taste of it. And I think we're going to crush this week, you guys. I really think we're going to crush this week. That is UFC 315. Wheezy, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for breaking this whole card down with me and having a good time here on the stream. We put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in here for you guys to show Wheezy some love and some support. My friend, let them know how they can support you, where they can find your content, and what other stuff you might have coming up.
Yeah, you can find me on the X at MMA Wheezy. You can find me on YouTube, Uncle Wheezy. I do shows every week, but mostly what I do is for my odds shopper community. I have a $25 a month probability stats and content package that includes my 7 to 8 page fight write-ups for every single fight on the card, all of my tracked bets, all of my content, which I do 2-hour show called Balls Deep Breakdowns, which is a full card breakdown where I read, like the summary that I read for the first fight of the night, the Almakhan fight. I do that for every fight, and I break down the trends of both fighters, the strength of schedule, the distance striking stats, the control time striking stats, the grappling stats, the tape, the numbers and the trends, and we use all that information to come to a conclusion about who's going to win the fight. I do that for Balls Deep Breakdowns, and then the next night on Probability, we take my proprietary betting models, which price these bets, and we determine where the underpriced bets meet our stylistic reads to find the best plus EV bets of the week. So if you find any of my recent content, you can go into the description of the video. There's a 50% off your first month. You can go to oddshopper.com and check out Uncle Wheezy. Get a month's membership for $12.50. Use that coupon and support my work. And that's the way, because it's hard out here, Clint,
it's tough in these streets.
Dude, it's tough, man. I mean, we're losing a lot of shows, too. A lot of really good MMA shows are kind of going by the wayside. We're seeing some people kind of just be like, I don't have it in me anymore.
Some people are hanging up the gloves.
A couple people are hanging up the gloves, and there are some really good shows that are kind of going by the wayside. And the reason that is that it's very difficult to make money just by people watching you on YouTube. You're not going to make any money. You're never going to make an hourly wage that'll be worth the content that you're putting out, because us MMA content creators, we have a 3 to 5 day shelf life for the content. Then the event happens. Nobody's going to watch the content ever again. And then we got to make new content the next week. So yeah, when you like shows on YouTube that you're watching and counting on to entertain you and inform you when it comes to the MMA, please keep in mind to try to do your best to support that content creator. Because I guarantee you, they're not making jack shit on YouTube. And if they don't have some kind of a product that they're out there selling, they're out there just donating their time for free to try to make you a sharper, better. And if you don't support them, they're going to go away. So do your best to try to hit a thumbs up or leave a comment, or, actually join one of these cappers that you enjoy listening to. Spend $10 to $20 a month supporting them, whatever product it is that they're selling, because it's going to make it a lot more likely that they're going to be around next week to do the show for you, and next year, because guys like Clint that have been doing this shit for 5-6 years straight every single week are very, very few and far between. So you better appreciate them while they're around. But thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching and supporting. And let's stack cash tickets like flapjacks for UFC 315. What a card. And I can't wait to make a bunch of money on it.
Hell yeah. Wheezy said it all, you guys. I got nothing left to offer. Thank you all so much for being here. Hope you absolutely crush UFC 315 with me. We're going to absolutely destroy this card, you guys. I've just got that feeling. I've got a feeling it's going to be a good weekend. Go out there, make it a good week, no matter what you're battling in your life. The storm will pass, you guys. Just know the sun will come up tomorrow. You're always going to have a fresh shot at it. Try to attack it with a good attitude. And you know what? If you can't attack it with a good attitude, just give it what you can. Some days you're not going to have 100%. Some days you're only going to have 40%. And if that's all you've got to give today, give that 40. You'll feel better for it in the end. Do what you can, but don't do more than you can, because if you dig yourself into a hole that you can't get out of, that's when you really have a problem. So don't overextend yourself. If you need a day off, take a damn day off. Love you guys. We're going to whoop some ass. We'll see you later this week for Clint's Hot Props, the Total Takedown, the Undefeated Post-Weigh-In Show on Friday, and I will get with my boy Andrew for pay-per-view week and see if we can get you guys an episode of the Sharp Action Report. Let's roll.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Niggas be up on the block, looking for trouble, you can get popped. If you was looking wealthy, just let a sign, you can get stopped. I seen them running them pockets, days not chatting, they when I stop. I call that stop and shop, I seen niggas get popped and drop. Niggas be up on the block, looking for trouble, you could get popped. If you was looking wealthy, did a less sign, you could get stopped. I seen them running them pockets, days not chatting, they when I stop. I call that stop and shop, I seen niggas get popped and drop. Walk in the street like a dope kid, look like a Hollywood movie wrote this. Might just ride and think about some shit, hit a quick lick and run on some dumb shit. I be getting hard by danger, hit a quick lick then masturbate later. Girls be hot and dumb for reasons they think hood shit fun. It be the danger, it be my post rising, knowing that I could get caught. But I be the boss and it be the thought of all of the cash a nigga just got broken. Head crack it and it's open, still all your money right up in one motion. Just go right with a flow like ocean. This not a game but we out for tokens. Niggas be up on the block looking for trouble, you could get popped. If you was looking wealthy, just let a sign, you could get stopped. I seen them running them pockets, they not chatting, they when I stop. I caught a stop and shop, I seen niggas get popped and drop. Niggas be up on the block, looking for trouble, you could get popped. If you was looking wealthy, just let a sign, you could get stopped. I seen them running them pockets, they not chatting, they on time. Stop. I caught a stop and shop, I seen niggas get popped and drop. Check it, or zealot, cash it, don't app it. Nah, I'm trying to get all this money, my nigga, yo, I be an addict. I'm trying to run me some elbows and I don't care if it costs static. This is no play, this is no theater shit, don't be dramatic. I like to think about things like why do we steal? Shit, why? I be in some robber and shit, like see how you feel. Yo, see how you feel, bitch. When all of a sudden like make you fucking go broke, you be gon' broke. You could be down and niggas will just fucking joke. They just gonna joke until you get all the cash. Then they your biggest fans. Hey, Outcast, can I give like 100?